Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. What is it? Tuesday night? That means it's Radio Baloney Live Tuesdays. I am your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing? Izzy got the first like. That means double good karma. Double good karma right there. As everybody knows, when you like the stream, a Radio Baloney stream, or subscribe to the channel or become a member, whatever, you get free good karma. But what not every single person knows is that when you're the first, you get double good karma. That's double. So right now we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on Locals. If you were to get the first like on all of those, that's 8 good karmas. In these troubled times, come on, people. Come on. Dramus, how you doing? Good to see ya. All right. So hope everybody had a great weekend. What are we talking about? We'll get to the menu in a second, what we're going to be covering tonight. Anybody who didn't catch the George Soros primer on the Rumble Premium only stream last night, you can check that out. I will be editing it into a shorter, I don't know, probably 30 minutes, something like that, 30, 40, maybe 40 minutes. I don't know. It was about, I think about an hour and a half in the stream. But we'll be editing that right down and publishing that as a non-premium thing. But you'll miss all the rest of it. You know, it's kind of a bummer if you see that. But anyway, we will be doing that. We did do a primer on George Soros. It's got everything you need to know really right now. We might do a deeper dive later. But if you keep hearing that name, if you keep hearing Open Society Foundations, this is a good video to watch. If you keep hearing those names and you don't really know much about it, you just kind of heard things or whispers or rumors or accusations or whatnot, it's a good video to watch because it does kind of put it all into perspective in one place for you. All right. So what's on the menu tonight? First off, we're going to talk about, will Hollywood ever learn? Will they ever learn? James Gunn says Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. I don't know. Is it called Superman? I don't know what the movie's called. Is it just called Superman or Senior Superman? I don't know. But this seems like a particularly bad idea right now. Like this whole moralizing about immigration thing seems to be on the losing end of things right now. We're going to talk about that a bit and see what he said, and his brother, who's an actor, also said, and we're going to take a look into it. We'll see some good stuff from JD Vance here. We're going to take a look at. We're going to take a look at a CBC journalist who has quit and put out a letter explaining how the CBC is biased. It's biased media. It's not objective media. And we're going to go through that. He's not the first. We're going to go through some of the previous people who've said the exact same thing. No surprise, Canadian media biased, right? Especially the CBC, the state media, the state propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. We've got some stuff here. That's not really Hillary there. Some people call her Killary. We're going to take a look at some of this who stuff. And yeah, it's all a bit of a shit show, isn't it, really? What else we got? FBI has launched formal investigations into former FBI head James Comey and former CIA head John Brennan due to potential Russiagate wrongdoings. At this point, you have to look at it and kind of go, do you have much faith, really, that anything's going to happen? Because it doesn't, the track record isn't really great. I think there's been very important things that have happened with the Trump administration, with Trump himself and the administration, but some of this kind of deep state stuff, it's not getting dealt with, is it? Let's see. Apparently Canada is on fire because it's 23 degrees or 24 degrees in Edmonton. Kind of amazing. And we're also going to get up. So, the elbows up thing, that elbows up, Canada, elbows up against those mean Americans. Yeah, it was absolutely as fake as it seemed. It was poll tested. I believe the Privy Council was involved. It was all just manufactured. We already knew that, but here we've got a thread describing it from Sheila Gunn Reid from Rebel News. Mark Carney is very how long do we have to do this for? It's been a couple of decades already where we've been doing this weird thing where we pretend that Islamophobia is a word. And yeah, I don't know how long do we have to keep doing this for exactly? I'm not really sure, but Mark Carney wants us to be very worried about Islamophobia still. How many more decades do we have to do this for? And we'll take a look at some of the, because of course Mark Carney tells us that Islam is a Canadian culture. So we'll take a look at some of the Canadian culture here. That's just totally normal. That's happening in Canada. We'll take a look at some of that. And why it's so important, according to Mark Carney, just to have no questions or concerns about it whatsoever. Let's see. We've got a little bit of fun just from Pierre Poilievre here. We'll take a look at that. We got some memes, and then we've got a bunch of random stuff. I finally managed to break into my direct messages on X. And yeah, there's some problem going on there, but we got a bunch of stuff you guys sent in, so we'll be taking a look at that. So it is your guys' call on this one, but there's also stuff that I have chosen as well. So that's good times. All right. Quiet night in the chat. Quiet night in the chat. Is there anybody anybody watching right now who doesn't usually get into the chat? Introduce yourself. Say hi. Got the best chat on the internet here, but it's awful quiet tonight. Awful quiet tonight. Let's get going, people. Let's get moving. All right. And of course, nobody will see this on YouTube because of a name that starts with E and sounds like Epstein. So Yeah, that's just the way it goes. What are you gonna do? All right, all right. It's time to get serious. Oh, also subscribe to the channel and stuff, and like the stream and stuff. Also do that. Totally important. So let's get to this Superman here. So James Gunn says Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. That's what everybody was hoping for. Everybody was hoping that the new Superman movie would be about politics, that it would be an opportunity to be moralized about about immigration by people who are immune from the consequences of their own luxury boutique beliefs. Everybody was hoping for that. I think this bodes badly for the Superman movie. I know personally, look, I don't even go to this theater anymore, or very rarely. But usually I'll just watch them. If there's a movie I want to watch, I'll just buy it when it comes out in video on demand. And they make a lot of their money that way now, too. Immediately, I'm just thinking, nah, it will remain this way. I'll be like, yeah, I don't need to see this. I don't need to see the movie to be, hectored at or to be moralized about how I've lost the value of basic human kindness because I think that a country should have borders and people outside of those borders should respect those borders. They should respect the laws of the countries that they're going to. Right. So that is that is losing the value of basic human kindness, apparently, according to Senior Superman, which is what we should all be calling him from now on, which is why he is wearing a sombrero on the thumbnail of this video. So let's see. The real issue with Superman is not that he is an immigrant, it's that he is a journo. Whoa. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but he is the villain. He is the villain, it turns out. Izzy says, I'll be sure to skip it. There's a lot of people that are going to see this and skip the movie. Maybe it'll still make a bunch of money. I don't know, but it will make less. Hold on a second. Oh, didn't have more on this. So I guess the thing is that let's see, from Dr. Strange tweet, Superman is an immigrant. Okay, fine. If an immigrant can fly and rescue people, he can stay. If not, he needs to go. I think that's a good standard there. Undoomed said, it's time to abandon the tired old notion that, quote, all publicity is good publicity. Case in point, James Gunn has single-handedly talked me from being like, that new Superman movie seems nice into, I'm not spending my money on that dumpster fire. Just shut the fuck up, bro. Shut up. You know that the studio heads are thinking, why did you do this? Why did you say this? We're trying to get away from this. People don't like it. They've made it clear. They don't like this. They don't want to be moralized by you. They don't want you to lecture them. Like they're not coming to the movies and we're losing lots of money because they don't want to be lectured. And they've made that pretty clear. So James Gunn says that Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places. So it turns out, I mean, my first thoughts when I read that was, oh my God, Lex Luthor was right. He's the good guy. I mean, I guess technically Superman is an illegal immigrant, though. So I'm afraid I'm on team Lex Luthor now. The real crime of this movie, though, is that they have a super dog. Like it's a dog that has superpowers. Crypto, I know it's in the comics. You don't have to remind me, but it's still really stupid. And, you already have trouble with, suspending your disbelief especially with a Superman movie, just because he's totally invulnerable except for this green stuff. But then you add a super dog with a cape, and that just brings it. I mean, now it just looks like a movie for 7-year-olds, right? I'm not interested. James Gunn says that Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. Yes, it's about politics. Now, how overt it will be. So if somebody watches it that hadn't seen this headline, would they even notice? Maybe they're playing it up, maybe trying to get press. I don't know. Maybe the movie's really good. I don't know. Let's see. So he says, this is James Gunn. Superman is the story of America, Gunn explained, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country. But for me, it is mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something we have lost. So again, he's speaking from a place where he feels totally safe from the consequences of his luxury beliefs that he has not thought through for even 1 second. Right? So I guess by his logic, well, why not just have the entire world go to the United States and get on benefits? Why not? Have you lost your basic human kindness? Every poor person in the world wants, all that every single poor person in the world wants is to go to your country and consume your resources. That's all that they want. Have you lost your basic human kindness? It's such a childish view of the world. Of course, James Gunn has never thought about this. It's just the easiest thing in the world for him to say. It's what he has to say if he wants to work in Hollywood. An immigrant that came from other places. Are they actually unaware that the issue is illegal immigration? Because they just keep saying immigrant, as if there's no distinction between somebody, 20 years ago who went through the lengthy and expensive process of becoming an American citizen and somebody who Venezuela let out of a prison and dropped him off at the border and said, go up to the United States. I don't know. They just act like they must know there's a difference between legal and illegal immigration, but they just refuse to acknowledge it. It's so strange, right? It's very, leftist. It's very progressive, but it's weird. It's weird. They have to pretend to not know things that they must know. Yeah, it plays differently, but it's about human kindness, and obviously there will be jerks out there who are just not kind. They're not kind people, those jerks, and will take it as offensive just because it's about kindness. But screw them. Haven't we outgrown this yet? Haven't we? I guess Hollywood just simply refuses to outgrow it. This is so childish. It's like something that you would hear from a 5-year-old. He continued, yes, it's about politics, but on another level, it's about morality. It's about your morality, pushing your childish, shallow morality. It's always from these people who feel they're not actually, but they feel as if they're actually totally shielded from the consequences of their luxury beliefs. Let me go back here for a second. I want to find something. Where is it? So this is Sean Gunn. So this is James Gunn, the director of the movie's brother. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff. He puts them in his movies. Let's listen to this.
It is exactly what the movie is about, I think, that we support our people, We love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people that...
Well, technically, Superman was an illegal immigrant. He's also not real. He's a fictional character that's been around for 100 years.
We support in this country are immigrants, and if you don't like that, then you're not American. People who... It is exactly...
So let me get the logic here. If you don't think the United States should not have a border and just anybody should be able to cross into the United States, and declare it their home now, just as much as you're not American. So an American citizen born in the United States or immigrated who went through the lengthy and expensive process of becoming an American citizen, right, is not an American citizen if they're not willing to grant automatic American citizenship to just literally anybody from anywhere in the world. If they're not willing to just say anybody from anywhere in the world can just go to the United States, isn't that this is idiotic? I mean, these people are children. I believe the reason why their ideas are so childish is because they have to be. There's no benefit. There's no benefit in it for them to interrogate any of their own ideas. There's only danger in it, because all of a sudden it might lead them down a rational path that will actually be very damaging for them. So if they start to think too much like an adult, if they start to become too reasonable, this is going to be bad for their career in Hollywood. So it's best not to. It's best just to have these childish luxury beliefs. What about this one? James Gunn, Nathan Fillion, and more on mega outrage over directors. Isn't it just any sane person? And it's not really outrage either. It's just like, yeah, I'm not going to go see that. It's really, let's rewrite this. James Gunn, Nathan Fillion, and more on mega and sane people saying, yeah, I'm not interested now. Over directors saying Superman is an immigrant. I don't have anything to say to anybody spreading hate. So who's spreading hate? Is people who say, we really do need to have a border. We need to know who's here. Like, you can't just have everybody in the world show up. Like, there's only so many resources. There's only so many places for people to live. Do we know, like, how many, policemen per 1,000 do we have? How many hospital beds per 1,000? Like, these are things that just adults have to think about, right? Like, there's logistics involved in a country. There's a certain amount of resources. Like, adults have to actually think about these things. Responsible people, responsible politicians or bureaucrats, whoever, really should be thinking about these things. Sorry, that's hate. James Gunn and Nathan Fillion think that's hate. Thinking about things is hate. Who is this? James Gunn. So this is James Gunn. Quote, I'm not here to judge people, he told Variety at Monday night's Senior Superman premiere at Hollywood's TCL Chinese Theater. I think this is a movie about kindness. And I think that's something everyone can relate to. People who talk about kindness, about policy, and they use the word kindness and empathy are children, right? And the policies they support invariably will end up not being very compassionate or kind. I'm not here to judge people, he told Variety. Let's see. He's not here to judge people. Let's see. Screw them, he said. Yes, it plays differently, but it's about human kindness, and obviously there will be jerks out there, but screw them. Well, thank goodness, though, that James Gunn isn't here to judge people. Wow, that's nice. That's reassuring. Quote, my reaction to the backlash is that it is exactly what the movie is about. We support our people, So by our people, you're talking about people that are in your country illegally, right? And the first people being removed are people that have committed crimes, often heinous crimes in your country. But apparently those are his people as well. And his people, I guess, are just literally anybody in the world who wants to show up in the United States and start gobbling up resources. We support our people, We love our immigrants, like my maid and my landscaper. Yes, Superman is an immigrant, and yes, but Yes, Superman is an immigrant, and yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. Are they illegal immigrants, though? I know that you don't make a distinction, but there really is a distinction. It's an important one, and it's one that's made by literally every single goddamn government in the world, you absolute dingbat. And if you don't like that, you're not American. You're not American. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. But what about people who say yes to immigrants as long as they're legal? They say yes to immigration, but no to illegal immigration. You would think from listening to these people that there is no distinction. And this is what they're trying very hard, because the problem is the second that they admit there is a distinction between legal and illegal, they lose, because it's just too common sense. So they just can't admit that. They just have to keep trying to deceive and manipulate in the same way over and over and over and over again. And why wouldn't they? They see that the teleprompters on CNN and MSNBC are doing the same thing every night. The Democrat politicians are doing the same thing. So there's just this bizarre charade just happening every single day. It's truly surreal. It's truly surreal. It's just a reality that they refuse to acknowledge, and they refuse to acknowledge it for political reasons. That's why. But I will repeat, the worst thing about it is that there's a fucking super dog in it. That's the worst thing. The worst thing about Superman is that there's a dog with superpowers, which just ruins it. That just makes it into a movie for 5-year-olds. I know Superman, superpowers, comic book movie, but it can be done in a way that it's not just totally idiotic. There are some good ones. And speaking on that, actually, I watched that Thunderbolts movie. It was the first one that I could get through in years. The first Marvel movie I could get through in years. I did watch the that last Deadpool, which was fine, I guess. Lukewarm. Thunderbolts was better than the Deadpool movie. It was quite good. It was interesting because it seems that they've rediscovered, at least the people who made that movie rediscovered how to make female characters again. So you have a female character, and yes, she can beat up guys that are twice as big as her and stuff, but okay, she's a superhero, but she also fits comfortably within the gamut of what it means to be a human female. So just simply, the Florence Pugh character wasn't written just as an asshole man that even other men don't like, right? Like Captain Marvel. She's actually written within the parameters of what it means to be a human female. And she's very good. I had very, very low expectations going in. Maybe that explains it. But I ended up enjoying that movie. It was a good one. It was not woke. And then there was Beau is Afraid, which I watched. And that's just a whole nother thing. That's like a 4-hour video on its own. Enjoyed it, though. Crazy movie, though. Enjoyed it, though. Anyway, so that's enough of that. Let's get to the chat. You guys can work on your golf swing. Let's see what's going on. Let me have a sip. Let's see. Izzy said slow start. It was a slow start tonight. It looks like it's staying slow, actually. I know it's one of those nights. It happens. Dramus says Tuesday is energy and chocolate day. Energy and chocolate day. Well, Tuesday is an energy day, that's for sure. I am feeling a little bit low on energy. Have I ever mentioned before when I get low on energy why that happens? Because I've had a coffee. It wasn't enough. I had an espresso, a double espresso, not enough. I smoked some crack, not enough, nothing. Smoked a bunch of crystal meth, the blue crystal meth, nothing. I chewed on 4 polar bear adrenal glands, nothing. And now I don't know what I can do. Where else could I possibly go after all of that to get the kind of energy
Them energy. They them energy. They them energy.
and teapot. Oh, it never gets old. It never gets old. After tough negotiations with Rosie, we have to show some chocolate every single time that we do the they them energy. Oh man, I feel energized now though, but it's worth it. Where is it? Where is it? There we go. Look at that. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I wonder, is that like some sort of like chocolate brownie on top or something? I mean, that looks absolutely delicious. So there we go. All right. Izzy says, LOL, not wrong. Urinalists are overpaid commies. These days they are. These days they are. Let's see. Izzy says, I'll wait for the reviews and probably see all the best parts and clips and call it scene. Yeah. Yeah, but most of the movies are really terrible, right? Most of the Kate movies. I would say the Thunderbolts, I actually enjoyed it. Maybe it was just because I had rock bottom expectations on it. But it was the first Marvel movie I've been able to finish in ages. As he says, it's the mind virus causes brain rot. It certainly does. That's the purpose. Rosie, how you doing? Good to see you. All right. Congrats on number one. That was for Izzy. Let's see. Izzy says, wonder how many illegal gangbangers he has living in his neighborhood. Well, see, that's the thing for like James Gunn and these other Hollywood virtue signalers is that they feel as if they are shielded from the consequences of their insane ideology. Their weird, pathetic, childish ideology of just repeating the words like kindness and empathy as if it really means anything, especially coming from them. Let's see. Steve Tollison says we all need the they them energy. I know. Good to see you, Steve. Rosie says, nope, you keep repeating the same chocolate we need to. We'll find some new one coming up. We will. I knew I was cheating there. I knew it. You caught me. Let's see. All right. All right. So what are we going to do next? I don't think we're going to be I don't think it's going to be a long one tonight. I think it may be a couple of hours, perhaps. I don't know. All right. From Libs of TikTok, JD Vance brilliantly explains the radical left's obsession with Zoran Mamdani. He captures so many of the movement's contradictions in a single human being, he says. Well, let's take a look at this. Now, let's remember Zoran Mamdani won the Democratic primary in New York City for the mayoral election. He's very likely to be is he a shoo-in? Maybe something could happen, but he's very likely to be the next mayor of New York City. This is a man who talks about wanting to buy up private property to create communes. And in the past, he has talked enthusiastically about the end goal being to seize the means of production. It really don't get any more commie than that. It sure doesn't. Let's take a look.
Now, I may not speak for many of you, but I was once comforted by these contradictions within the modern left. How could privileged whites march around with a straight face decrying white privilege? How could progressives pretend to love conservative Muslims despite those Muslims' views on gender and sexuality? But the answer is obvious if you think about it. And it's a very, very dangerous and very sad answer. The radicals of the far left, they don't need a unifying ideology of what they're for because they know very well what they're against. What unites Islamists, gender studies majors, socially liberal white urbanites, and big pharma lobbyists, it isn't the ideas of Thomas Jefferson or even of Karl Marx. It's hatred. They hate the people in this room. They hate the President of the United States. And most of all, they hate the people who voted for that President of the United States in the last election in November. This is the animating principle of the American far left. Now, to be clear, it isn't true of most of the people who vote for Democrats. Most of the people who vote for Democrats, they're good people struggling to get by, even if we think that they're misguided in their political judgment. But pay close attention to what the leadership of this movement says outside of the glossy campaign ads and outside of the general election tested messaging themes. And it's obvious what animates the leadership of the modern Democratic Party. The far left doesn't care that BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, led to a spike in violent crime in urban black neighborhoods, and it did, because that same movement also led to anarchy in middle-class white neighborhoods. They do not care that Islamism hates gays and subjugates women, because for now, it's a useful tool of death against Americans. And they don't care that too many pharma companies are getting rich from experimental hormonal therapies, because in the process, they're destroying the so-called gender binary that has structured social relations between the sexes for the whole of Western civilization. And they certainly don't care that deporting low-wage immigrants will raise the wages of the native-born, because they don't mean to create higher living standards for those who are born and raised here, whether they're black, white, or any other skin color. They mean to replace those people with people who will listen to their increasingly bizarre ethnic and religious appeals. They are arsonists, and they will make common cause with anyone willing to light the match. And that's why Mamdani himself is such an appealing instrument to the left. He captures so many of the movement's apparent contradictions in a single human being.
You know, I think J.D. Vance has been a spectacular success as a vice president and as a running mate for Trump in the election, and I quite like him. I don't think he's quite right, though. Like, the unifying ideology behind the modern left is Marxism. They are all Marxists. Now, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, those people right at the very top there, they're just about power, I think. But underneath them, it's all just Marxism. AOC, the Squad, Elon, they're all Marxists. You know, the people voting for them, you know, a large percentage of them have been through the propaganda mills that are, you know, post-secondary education. Now, increasingly, just K through 12 is becoming a propaganda mill for Marxism. It is Marxism. That is the thing that is uniting, right? And the things that they hate are the things that are standing in the way of Marxism in the United States. And it's the same for leftists in any country, anywhere in the world, especially in the Western world. But it is the unifying force. I mean, you know, academia has been completely captured by Marxism. Like, the institutions have been captured by it. How many just full-on communists are in highly placed positions? Not just in the American government, and the British and Canadian, Australian, French, German. It's not zero, and it's probably quite a lot. Now, Marxism is the unifying force behind it all. I mean, Nancy Pelosi may not be aware of it, right? But Chuck Schumer. But underneath them, yes, that's the force. That's the force that's propelling leftist politics everywhere in the Western world. It is Marxism. You couldn't say anything Marxist to them that they're going to disagree with. And look, now you've got Zohran Mamdani looking to take over really the center of capitalism, of world capitalism, New York City. This is a man who said his end goal is to seize the means of production. It is Marxism. And the things that they hate, your freedoms, right? Your religion, the Constitution, these are the things that are standing in their way of creating, 1984 in the United States of America. The, Soviet Socialist Republics of the United States. That's why they hate those things. That's why they're trying to destroy them. That's why they're trying to destroy your history. Your history is standing in the way. That's why they hate that. That's why they tear down the statues. So I think J.D. Vance is great, and but I think he's a little bit off on this. Although obviously I'm very, sympathetic to what he's saying there. Let's see. Okay, nothing there. Let's get back to the chat for a second. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Nevada said, commies gonna hate. They are gonna hate. And we're gonna hate commies. We sure are. Let's see. Rosie says, American Far Left Party of Death. Yeah, it's a global movement at this point, and it just seems to be about death, right? I mean, think about the things they're most proud of, the thing they celebrate the most. Killing their own children. I mean, that is the crowning achievement for a leftist woman, right? That's her crowning achievement. She killed her child or multiple children before they were born. It's it's a point of pride for the modern leftist woman. Not all of them, obviously, but the real progressives. Yeah. Let's see. Rosie says, commies definitely gonna hate. They sure are. Nevada says they are also all haters. Yes, I agree with that. Rosie says, you think Elon is Marxist? No, he's the exact opposite of a Marxist. I think Elon genuinely hates Marxism. He knows his history. G Flood, how you doing? Good to see ya. Let's see. Izzy says, identity politics is just rebranding of Marxism, switching it from class to identity. That's right. Yes, it's French Marxists did that in the 60s. And they, because the problem is that by that point, everybody knew what life was like in communist countries in the Soviet Union or in China. And it was clear that you were better off being working class in, the United States and, West Germany, say, the UK, Canada, much better off in simply every single way than you were being, a drone, a prole in the Soviet Union, say, in Moscow. So the middle class was smarter, or the working class, the working class was underestimated by the leftists, and eventually they realized, okay, we've underestimated them. They're not as easy to manipulate as we thought. So now it's time for a change in strategy. So now we'll go with identity. So we'll start pitting women against men, black against white, blah, blah, blah. Eventually it moved into gay against straight. And then, to the T's and the Q's and the pluses, whatever those are. And it's been more successful for them. Nevada said, Elon is walking that fine line between crazy and genius. Yeah, like him and Trump are singular figures. I mean, Trump does the same thing. He kind of walks the fine line between crazy and genius too, doesn't he? One thing is that it works for them. It has worked for them, but you can't expect them to act predictably, to act like other people, because you don't know how their mind works, and their mind works in ways that is successful for them. It works. What they do has worked. Nobody can argue against that. Let's see. Steve Tollison says, one place they've completely taken control is HR and corporate America. Yes. Although now I understand some companies are starting to get rid of that. Apparently even BlackRock has stepped away from the ESG stuff, or maybe they've just renamed it. It is entrenched and it perpetuates the Marxist ideology. Well, it's equity, right? DEI is just straight up Marxism. Although, as I understand it, some companies have just had enough. And the second they felt like, they could do it without too much backlash, they started eliminating those positions and those bureaucracies with their own companies, because they are nothing but, well, it's just
everything woke turns to shit.
Yeah, it just creates dysfunction and resentment and anger. It's like implicit bias training, right? It's It's no secret anymore that actually just makes people actually racist if you force them through these things. It creates an enormous amount of resentment in any case. Where's my applause? JJ Nevada says, right here, buddy. Let's see. G Flood, I'm good. Didn't catch any fish, but I came home with the fiance. Wow. So you kind of did. Wow. Fantastic. Good for you. All right. Good news. That's big news for the Radio Baloney chat right there. Very nice. Rosie says, did you know her before you went? G Flood says, nope, that happened quick. Happened quick. Oh my. Well, congrats, best wishes. Yes, best wishes. Best wishes from the entire Radio Baloney family. All right. So shall we move on? So where hold on a second. I want to find the article from Brian Lilly here first. Okay. So continue. Let's get rid of this. So have I ever mentioned that the CBC, the state media, the state-funded media in Canada, is just simply a propaganda arm of the Liberal Party of Canada? Have I ever mentioned that? I'm sure I've mentioned it at some point. From Brian Lilly, this is in the Toronto Sun. Former CBC host blasts state broadcaster on way out the door. So CBC loves diversity, just not diversity of opinion. That mistake has now cost them a former top host and perhaps created an enemy. Well, I think it's definitely created an enemy. In a scathing letter announcing his resignation, now former CBC journalist and television host Travis Downraj is taking aim at Canada's state broadcaster. So we're going to read the letter. And it's quite rare because this is a very dangerous move for a journalist to make. I mean, you know, it is a career. Hold on. But even saying that, there are other cases, and we're going to get to that. But first, let me find the letter, because I'm always so organized is the thing. We're actually going to spend a few minutes on this. But first, I have to find where the letter was in the tweet from this guy on his... Oh, here we go. So this is him here. This is Travis Downraj. He was with CBC. They were kind of building him up. They wanted to build him up as kind of a star for the channel. But it turns out that he wanted to think for himself, and he didn't want to just parrot things that came out of the teleprompter and what the producers told him to say. It turns out he doesn't want to just be a token. A token. A token of what? A token of diversity. He feels like an individual. Can you imagine that? That must make CBC furious. Furious. Let's take a look. Okay. A note from Travis, here for me directly. Okay. He says, they tried to crush me. They tried to crush me. I'm still standing. By now, many of you know I'm no longer at CBC. What you may not know is what it cost me and why I had no real choice but to walk away. After more than 20 years in broadcast journalism, this wasn't a move I ever imagined making. I spent years in small markets and local stations working my way to the top, my own national primetime program. But when you speak up inside a system that rewards silence, when you speak truth to power, the consequences come fast and they come hard. My career, my livelihood, all gone. And this is for having principles, for being a principled journalist, I guess. This experience nearly broke me, but I'm still here and I'm not backing down. I still have my voice and I intend to use it because this isn't just about me. It's about trust in the CBC. So I think the Canadian public now is pretty much split on the CBC. Like, there is no conservative in Canada that trusts the CBC in any way. And the CBC has earned that. It has earned that by its slavish devotion to the Liberal Party of BC, by its partisanship, by the constant framing, the constant negative framing of anything conservative, and the constant positive framing of anything liberal. This spin, the apologetics for the Liberals, just that drip, 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 day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute, second after second of just negative framing of anything conservative. It doesn't matter which conservative or which conservative leader. It's just always a little bit negative. It's just that little turn down at the corners of Rosemary Barton's mouth every time something conservative comes up. It's the insidious, constant, perpetual framing from the CBC, from the publicly funded CBC, the state media propagandist, the CBC. It's about trust in the CBC, a public institution that's supposed to serve you. It's supposed to serve all Canadians. It's about voices being sidelined, hard truths avoided, and the public being left in the dark about what's really happening inside their national broadcaster. Well, I think we know what's happening there. They are constantly spinning a narrative, an approved narrative. They're not trying to inform, they're trying to manipulate. I have no doubt there will be efforts to discredit me, to paint me as bitter or disgruntled. That's what happens when you challenge power. If you believe Canadians deserve answers and transparency from the institutions they fund, leave your email below. When the time is right, I'll pull the curtain back. I'll share everything. I'll tell you what is really happening inside the walls of your CBC. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your continued support means the world to me. So I like this. I'll tell you what is really happening inside the walls of your CBC. This will just be confirming things or reconfirming things that we already know, because he's not the first to actually do this. And we're going to get to that in a second. But what they wanted, and let's go back here for a second. So in a scathing letter, so this is the resignation letter here. Hold on. Let's pull that up. So that other one was a letter to the public. This is the resignation letter. Let's take a look at this. Subject: resignation under duress. CBC leadership has left me no choice. Dear CBC leadership, this is an involuntary resignation. I am stepping down not by choice, but because the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation has made it impossible for me to continue my work with integrity. Integrity. After years of service, most recently as the host of Canada Tonight with Travis Downraj, I have been systematically sidelined, retaliated against, and denied the editorial access and institutional support necessary to fulfill my public service role. So, denied editorial access and institutional support. So that means that there's people that he wants to talk to that they're not letting him. That's being handed over to, I guess, the more trusted narrative crafters of, Rosemary Barton, for instance. When I joined the CBC, I did so, and I find this very interesting because it is rare that we get an insight and an inside look at the propaganda machine. When I joined the CBC, I did so with a clear understanding of its mandate and a belief in its importance to Canadian democracy. I was told I would be, quote, a bold voice in journalism. I took that role seriously. Oh, by the way, they were lying. They're obviously lying about that. They're expecting him to be a bold voice in narrative, or perhaps a meek voice in narrative. I work to elevate underrepresented stories, expand political balance, and uphold the journalistic values Canadians expect from their public broadcaster. And none of this is to say, by the way, that this guy is a conservative. As far as I know, he's not. He's actually liberal, but it's just when you have such, I think it speaks to the level of narrative control, the politicization at an organization like the CBC, and how it is really nothing more and that it is no longer a journalistic outlet. It is really just a propaganda outlet at this point. But what happens behind the scenes at CBC too often contradicts what's shown to the public. Performative diversity, tokenism, a system designed to elevate certain voices and diminish others. So the tokenism here, right? So he's diverse in the way that he's not diverse in the way that the CBC wants. So when the left, and of course CBC is part of the larger left, when the left talks about diversity, they mean total unanimity, total uniformity of opinion and ideology, but with different colors on top. So it's the most superficial diversity possible. Everybody has to be in total agreement with the narrative, but it's better if they look different. It's better if they're different races. They all have to say the exact same thing, but it's woker if they look different. Tokenism, that's what he's talking about. They thought they hit this guy was going to be great. He looks the part, and he'll just say whatever we tell him to. And apparently that didn't work. I was repeatedly denied access to key newsmakers. I was repeatedly denied access to key newsmakers. Internal booking and editorial protocols were weaponized to create structural barriers for some while empowering others, particularly a small circle of senior Ottawa-based journalists. When I questioned these imbalances, I was met with silence, resistance, and eventually retaliation. I was fighting for balance and accused of being on a crusade. Now, I doubt very much this guy was on a conservative crusade at the CBC. But just being a thinking person, you're going to have questions that make a propaganda outlet like the CBC very uncomfortable. My show, which I was initially told was a strategic priority, was rebranded. My name removed, my access curtailed, my medical leave was whispered about in the newsroom. I was presented with an NDA non-disclosure agreement tied to an investigation about a tweet about then CBC President Catherine Tate. So there was it's really just baffling, these people, just how incompetent and corrupt these people are. She was handing out massive bonuses while also firing people at the CBC, firing the lower level people while giving massive bonuses to the people at the top, including herself. It was designed not to protect privacy, but to sign away my voice. When I refused, I was further marginalized. Yet, you see, they don't want you to have integrity. They want you to do what you're told. These were not isolated actions. They were part of a pattern that sent a clear message: fall in line or be removed. I stayed as long as I could, but CBC leadership left me with no reasonable path forward. This has taken a real toll on my health, my career, and my trust in an institution I once believed I could help reform from within. But the greater harm is to the public, a broadcaster that no longer lives up to its mandate, a culture that resists accountability, and a system that punishes those who dare to challenge it. It is why the CBC is losing trust with Canadians and its audience. So I think the reasonable thing for him to do would be to recognize that the CBC is kind of a central hub for leftism in Canada, and it represents the goals of leftism in Canada very well, and to flee from that, to flee from leftism, the progressivism in Canada that really does want him to, they don't want him to be a human, they don't want him to be an individual, they want him to be a token. They want him to have absolute total conformity of opinion, but look different than some people. That's it. That's the diversity that they're looking for. It's certainly not diversity of opinion. All right, hold on. So we've got lots to go on here. I want to show you some things. One moment. Okay. So here, from the National Citizens Inquiry, Rodney Palmer, a former CBC journalist, calls out the media's silence on stories Canadians deserve to hear. Let's take a look. Another former CBC journalist. His message is clear. The CBC won't touch these topics because the experts it parades are tied to government-funded initiatives like Science Up First. Just one of the reasons why the word expert don't mean what it used to. Truth is being buried under slogans about fearless journalism. Fearless journalism. How could anybody hear those words connected to the CBC and not laugh out loud? Let's take a look. So, from a former CBC journalist.
I have a few story ideas that the public will be interested in hearing, because I used to sit in story meetings daily with some of the best journalists I've ever worked with in my life when I worked at CBC. And we used to put out story ideas that were kind of the obvious things to cover that day. Here are a few that would be a good idea for the CBC to cover. Investigate the number of Canadians killed by COVID vaccines. Investigate the number of Canadians disabled by COVID vaccines. Investigate the details of vaccine approval safety standards that were waived in order to get the COVID vaccines into Canadian arms. Investigate the source of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Where'd it come from? What are we doing with all this stuff? We don't know where it came from. We know where it came from, but let's admit it. Let's talk about it. Let's investigate it. That's your job.
You can see other ones here. Purpose of gain-of-function research and development of pathogens. Canada's involvement in gain-of-function research, development of pathogens. These are all questions that a real journalist would want to ask. These would all be great CBC story ideas if CBC was a journalistic organization instead of just simply being a propaganda arm of the Liberal government, right? This is what real journalists would be interested in. All of this stuff, CBC, in fact, all of the mainstream, the corporate media in Canada, curiously incurious about for some reason, some crazy reason. And they wonder why nobody trusts them anymore, or why a large portion of the population, nobody trusts them. Let's see. How about this one too? Here's Rodney Palmer again. That was Rodney Palmer. Here's Rodney Palmer. Again, this is from March 30th, 2023. Let's take a quick look at this.
Quickly going, because I'm running out of time here, to the Freedom Convoy. I happened to be in Ottawa visiting friends. I had been doing some volunteer work with the Canadian COVID Care Alliance, which is an excellent group of scientists, and I encourage everyone to look at their website if they're looking for truth instead of trust. There's a photograph here of your witness standing in front of the Peace Tower in Ottawa, looking down on all the Canadian flags, the Quebec flags, the Freedom Convoy. These are the photographs I took. Families, somebody holding the Charter of Rights, freedom, lest we forget, from the vets, And God bless. This is what I saw. And the very first report on the CBC was by an excellent reporter named David Common. And he's walking, you can look this up, he's walking through the crowd and he's feeling that positive energy. And he can't even contain himself. He says it's a party. There's jubilance. Thousands of Canadians protesting the mandates. That was day one. On day two, these pictures emerged. Nazi flag. Confederate flag. The Canadian Confederate flag is largely meaningless in Canada because it doesn't have any history in our country, but it is a symbol of hate, and it's used as a symbol of hate.
Well, I don't agree that the Confederate flag is used as a symbol of hate, but this is a Canadian journalist. These flags here are obviously portraying Trudeau, as he was often portrayed in the Canadian conservative movement, as a fascist, as the kind of rainbow Hitler. That's obviously what these things were. The guy who had the Confederate flag here, was the only guy there with a face mask on, with his face covered, strangely, huh? Isn't that weird? And I think Trudeau's personal photographer just happened to be right there, too, to get pictures of him. Isn't that strange? But it's almost as if, well, let's continue with this for a second.
So when these photographs emerged, our prime minister came out and condemned the hateful rhetoric. He said he will not meet people who promote hate. So that was it. If that's 100,000 Nazis out there, and I don't know where we were hiding them before this day, but we had 100,000 Nazis, according to the prime minister, who are promoting hate. End of story. No meeting. Not going to discuss your issue.
It's almost as if our proud journalistic institutions got a phone call. An editorial decision was made that was really just political, and then that was it. And then there was a narrative set, and they just stayed with that. Let's see. The Freedom Convoy, Putin had something to do with it. Maybe Putin was behind it. There were shadowy far-right white supremacist forces in the United States that nobody really knows who they were, but they were definitely funding it or something, or all of the funding was going. These were stories coming out from the CBC, which were false, by the way, all false. Oh yeah, let's see. The truckers tried to set an apartment building on fire, also false, also reported by the CBC. Yeah, it's almost as if a phone call was made. There was collaboration. Let's say there was collaboration between Trudeau and the CBC, and not just the CBC. The shocking thing about this, when you see this stuff, is that it's no longer shocking. That it's just like, yeah, that's the way it works now. Yet that is the state of Canadian journalism. That's the state of the national broadcaster. That's what's shocking. What's shocking is that it's just normal now. It's just taken for granted. Oh yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, they're liars. They're propagandists. Former CBC journalist, we betrayed the public. So that's some real journalism right there. In regards to COVID, we were in fact pushing propaganda. Again, that's some real journalism right there. So let's take a look here. Again, another former CBC journalist.
We betrayed the public. We broke their trust. And we had been riding on a reputation of excellence for years. And now we were quickly shutting down one side of the debate. And how were we doing that? We branded the doctors and the experts the CBC chose that we used in our stories. We branded them as competent and trustworthy. And those who questioned and challenged the narrative were portrayed as dangerous and spreading disinformation. And that was regardless of what their specialty was, what their background was, and what their experience was. And I just also want to sort of give you a window into how this affected me personally. As a veteran journalist, I had solid contacts in the community. I had people calling me with stories. So I was seeing and I was hearing and I was absorbing all their stories of suffering and pain, and they were sharing them with me, and these stories weren't being told. Some of those were from the vaccine injured. Some were from people who had lost their job because of their vaccination status, those whose families had been blown apart and they'd been ostracized, university students who were depressed over repeated lockdowns and mandates, and parents who were calling me that were agonizing on whether they should vaccinate their child or not. So all these stories were sitting inside of me. They were left with me. And I felt the crushing burden and the weight of their truth not being given a voice. And it affected my well-being because these people trusted me, and I felt I had failed them and I had let them down. It was like I had failed these people as a journalist to give voice to their truth. So I had witnessed.
But it was really the national broadcaster that's supposed to represent all Canadians that it failed the public.
In a very short time, the collapse of journalism, news gathering, investigative reporting, and the way I saw it is that we were in fact pushing propaganda. And to define propaganda, it's information, ideas, opinions, or images that give one part of an argument, which are broadcast, published, in order to influence a person's opinion. And mental health workers have their own definition of propaganda as manipulative persuasion in the service of an agenda.
The Canadian government has monopoly on media.
So when an organization, we've said this many times, when an organization is infected with the woke mind virus, or we could call it the progressive mind virus, whatever, the authoritarian leftist mind virus, this is obviously very authoritarian. Propaganda by its nature is authoritarian. Right. Once it's infected with that, it's no longer about its original purpose. Now it's about perpetuating the mind virus, perpetuating progressivism, perpetuating leftism, authoritarian leftism. This is what we've seen with the CBC, as well as every other institution in Canada. I think I have one. Do I have one more here? Okay. Do I have one more? Hold on a second. We might have one more thing I wanted to show you. Hold on. Okay. So let's give you an example of where Canada is at. Okay. And that in terms of journalism. From Mike Campbell, NDP MP Leah Gazan is proposing a bill that would criminalize residential school denialism, including residential school denying think tanks like the Frontier Center, which recently called for a public inquiry into the Kamloops Graves hoax. The Frontier Center reported this summer that Chief Roseanne Casimir of the Kamloops Indian Band finally admitted that there were no human remains, bodies, graves, or mass graves found at Kamloops. What was initially reported as grave sites turned out to be mere soil anomalies, which could easily be attributed to tree roots, rocks, or remnants of prior excavations. By the way, over $12 million was given by the Trudeau government to do excavations. The money disappeared. They never happened. That's because they knew there was nothing there. The evidence was ground-penetrating radar, which tells you nothing. In fact, the band itself knew originally that it was not actual evidence of unmarked graves. It wasn't until it was picked up, the story was picked up by the media and by Trudeau, personally Trudeau, to push for political reasons, that it took off. That's who actually perpetrated the hoax, was the media and the government of Canada. But this is the reaction from the NDP. They want to actually just criminalize telling the truth. They want to criminalize accurate depictions of reality. That's the response from leftist Canadian politicians. They want to just make reality illegal, describing reality illegal. Accurate descriptions of reality must be banned. By the way, no outrage about this on the CBC or any of the corporate media in Canada. Isn't that strange? You'd think that journalists would be outraged by that they would see that as they would see banning accurate descriptions of reality as kind of counterproductive to their role. But then again, their role would have to be to inform the public instead of manipulating them. So I guess that's why. Justin Trudeau lies again about the fake discovery of unmarked graves in Canada. So you're going to be watching this and thinking, well, the CBC must have at some point just decided, well, we have to tell the public the truth, right? Well, let's see. Let's hear Trudeau first.
In recent years, the discovery of unmarked graves has been an awakening for people across Canada, an awakening to the truth that you all already knew, an awakening that called on us to do more to learn about the injustices of colonial.
So every word is false. Every word out of his mouth is false. Lies again about the discovery of unmarked graves in Canada. That was from June 18th, 2024. Long since it's been well known by every person who wants to open their eyes. Every single person who's rational knows that there was never any mass grave sites. There were no unmarked graves. It was a hoax. It was perpetrated, I would say, first and foremost by him. Now, what's CBC's response to all this? You think at some point, they're the public broadcaster. They're supposed to be responsible to all of the people of Canada. They're supposed to be this respected news outlet. At some point, they would have a major story, at least something in print, right? Like maybe even just apologizing, actually, just saying, sorry that we helped to perpetuate this incredibly damaging, harmful lie, this hoax, which was obviously a hoax. Even we at the CBC should have known that just simply ground-penetrating radar is not evidence of anything. If you're waiting for that, if you are waiting for that, you'll be waiting for a very, very long time because it's never going to happen. Rosemary Bartle, actually, hold on. I've got another one which does a bit better of a job of this. From Drea Humphrey. She works for Rebel News, independent conservative news in Canada, and thinks she's very good. CBC's Rosemary Barton called me a liar and pushed false unmarked grave claims on national television. So this is 2025. 2025. Not only have they not revealed the truth, not accurately described reality, they're still pushing the lie. Now the state broadcaster is quietly backpedaling from their misinformation used to vilify Rebel News. Yes, you get a tiny little correction on their website that nobody is ever going to see. Let's take a look here.
Churches have been targeted by arson and vandalism since claims of remains.
So this is Drea Humphrey asking then NDP leader Jagmeet Singh about all of the over 100 Christian churches that have been burnt down after the unmarked graves hoax.
Being discovered at former residential schools swept the nation in 2021. These claims have been disproven by bands that excavated and remain unproven by those that have not. Will you condemn the rise in acts of hate against Christians today and explain what your party will do moving forward to keep Christians safe from hate in Canada?
Again, thank you, but I'm not going to respond to an organization that promotes misinformation and disinformation like Rebel News, so no.
Every word she just said is true. This is the state of Canadian leftism.
I'm not going to respond to your question.
I think we have to sort of address the elephant in the room. How are these people chosen to answer these questions? And I don't know if either one of you have an answer for that, but I think there will be people at home saying, some of these seem like odd questions. Some of them aren't getting answered. How come we've heard so often from this one particular outlet? Any idea what's going on there?
There's three.
First up, seem like odd questions. Over 100 churches being burnt down in Canada? Imagine if it was 100 mosques. Anyway, let's continue.
Right-wing, very right-wing media, we can call them media, websites that are present in there. They get in line to ask a question like anybody else. Their accreditation has been approved by the Commission of Debates, and so they get the right to stand in line and ask a question that they choose to ask. In this case, you saw Mr. Singh, and this has been his position for some time, to refuse to answer questions. Rebel News in particular traffics in misinformation, facts, lack of facts, and as you heard in that question, which was...
So, Rebel News traffics in misinformation, lack of facts, she says. I wonder how this is going to go.
Was woven with some truth and some things that weren't true. Yes, there have been burnings of Christian Catholic churches. Yes, there have been remains of Indigenous children found in various places around the country, which she misrepresented. We'll see if Mr. Poilievre gets any questions from right-wing organizations.
So she lies about misinformation. She provides misinformation to deny truth. Right. So she's doing her best here. She's doing her absolute best here to propagandize the public. Right. So she is actually misinforming the public while she's saying that Drea Humphrey and other independent journalists are misinforming the public. I mean, it's just so weird. Right. And this is so it has been known now for a very long time that there are no graves. That's just common knowledge at this point amongst anybody who's paying attention. Here we go. Corrections and clarifications. CBC News is publicly tracking significant corrections and clarifications. On April 16th, during a live broadcast following the French language federal elections debate on CBC News Network, Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton said, yes, there have been remains of Indigenous children found in various places across the country. As CBC News has reported on multiple occasions, what several Indigenous communities across Canada have discovered on the sites of some former residential schools are potential burial sites or unmarked graves. Potential.
Have been targeted.
There's been no, it's not even that, there is no... Saying potential is going too far. No, there's a tiny clarification here that maybe 5 people who watched Rosemary Barton say that ever saw. This is the state of Canadian media. This is the CBC. This is why people are now blowing the whistle on the CBC. Quietly backpedaling. Meanwhile, they've done nothing to actually inform the public that they were had and that CBC was in on it. Here's another one. In an interview with actor Cillian Murphy about an upcoming movie on the Catholic Church in Ireland, a CBC News journalist tells Murphy that Canada is still finding the bodies of Indigenous children in the ground. No human remains have been found at former residential schools.
In our country, we have what happened to the residential schools, and they're still finding, bodies of Indigenous children.
This is how bad it is. Now, I have no doubt that this guy actually believes this. He works at the CBC, so he would believe it. He's like a movie critic, right? I have no doubt that he believes it. And if you're not paying any attention, if you're getting all of your news from CBC, well, then I guess you would. He works there, so I'm guessing that's where he gets his news from. It's just pathetic. All right, so I think that should cover it. So let me go back here for a second. So here is another one now. So here is another. It's rare that you will have any journalist jeopardize their career over a principle. But it's happened, it's actually starting to happen fairly regularly. I mean, I guess like every couple of years now. There are several CBC people who've worked for CBC who have now come out and said, yeah, there's something wrong here. This isn't really news. This is more narrative. And I hope it continues. I hope it continues. Good for him. And he is going to be revealing a lot more. We'll see if the CBC tries to sue him to silence him. That's entirely possible. In fact, I think probably likely. All right. Let's take a look at the chat. What's going on? Oh, this is a good time to suggest that subscribe to the channel, like the stream. Everybody's doing it. Super important. You get good karma when you do it. These troubled times, obviously, you need some good karma. I wouldn't turn my back on that. Also, become a member of the channel. Do that immediately, or buy a membership for somebody else. That's an awesome thing to do as well. But yeah, be part. Join the gang. Join the gang here on Radio Baloney. Rumble is the place. If you're watching on another platform, if you're watching on YouTube and you see the chat on the screen, that's all coming from Rumble. We got an amazing community here. Come on over. The water's great. Join the gang. We're all having a great time. JDL makes a really important point here. Says, hit the like button. Hit that like button right now, people. Let's do it. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? All right, here we go. I think I'm caught up. All right, let's see. Talking about going fishing instead of getting a fiance, which is hilarious. That's awesome. Let's see. Rosie says, Richie, we have turned into entitled whiny brats. LOL, where's my chocolate? Where's my energy? Where's my applause? Here's your applause right here. Let's see. And you guys are talking about sweet tea for some reason and noodles. No noodles tonight. It's a sports night. Maybe I'll find a different. It's all just about erasing history. It's about unmooring people from their past. It's just a Marxist strategy. Izzy says urinalists, that's URIN, urinalists, dirty smear merchants. Unfortunately, that's what's happened. JJ Nevada says the word. We haven't seen this one very often, but let me just try it out right now. Trugina. They say he's a man, but he's also a vagina, so we call him Trugina. Some call him Trugina. It's not very nice. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing, Trugina. Rosie says Trugina is a liar. He is. I wonder what he's doing. I wonder where he's lying and who he's lying to right now. Nevada says, great point here. Lying, stinking commie. 100%. Wonderful, wonderful. More of this. I love it. Let's see. JJ Nevada says, shut up, commie. Commie gets nothing. There we go. Rosie says, Trugina sits on a throne of lies, stolen from Elf. Yes, he does sit on a throne of lies, doesn't he? Just like in the movie Elf. Let's see. Nevada says, I like Rebel News. Yeah, I like Rebel News. Rebel News is way more objective. It's a much effect and force you to at least pretend to be an atheist. All right, I'm going to skip to the end here. Rosie says, Florida school for boys buried over 100 boys over a 100-year period. Reform school, not much reform happened. I've never looked into that. Over 100 years. Keep in mind, like, people died like 100 years ago. People got like tuberculosis and stuff, and the people died from the flu all the time. You have to keep that in mind. If a place is open for 100 years, people are going to die there. But often, I mean, what we found, I'm very distrustful of any stories like this now after what we've seen in Canada, because I'm not sure that people were just totally evil 100 years ago, right? Like, we're supposed to believe all these nuns were just these evil monsters, these tyrants, these sadists. I'm just not buying that. Rosie says, no, definite school and child abuse. Well, yeah, I don't doubt that, especially in something that's open for 100 years, there's going to be abuse. I mean, there's child abuse happening in just schools down your block right now, right? Like, there are just bad people. There are just bad people. But I'm very skeptical of claims that, you have these large groups of people that are all just these sadists that just all found each other and work at the same place. Where are we now? Oh, by the way, one of the CBC journalists we talked about, Rodney Palmer, award-winning journalist who worked for 20 years as a foreign correspondent for CTV News, an investigative reporter for CBC Radio and television in Canada and abroad. So, like, these aren't just like people it was not like the janitor or something, right? Let's see. So let's get into the Epstein file stuff. Apparently, there's no list. So this is not real. So just so you know, this is not real. That's not really HRC going into Epstein's cell. I just find it very funny. Let's see. Elon Musk posted this. We will release the Epstein list. We just need more time. The Epstein list is on my desk. There is no Epstein list. I don't know what the hell is going on here. Michael Schellenberger, quote, "This is a total fucking disaster. A senior person in the intelligence community told us today in response to our questions about the Justice Department's cover-up of the Epstein files. If people think this is going to go away," the official added, "I don't see how it can." Oh, why? Why? Total effing disaster. Now, I don't think you can argue that the Trump term so far has been, in really important ways, extremely successful. I mean, all of the metrics that you would judge an economy by are doing great. He's done what he said. He closed the border. What was it in May? There was not a single person released into the United States. Right? He is deporting people that are in the United States from the United States, especially the people who committed a crime and serious crimes after the original crime of entering the United States illegally. So, in really important, tangible ways, in profound ways, the Trump administration has been very successful already. But then you got this stuff. And it's just like, why? Why is this happening? It's just not good. It has the potential, and certainly with some people, will overshadow all of the good. Hodge twins. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years for sex trafficking kids with Epstein. And the DOJ and FBI just said there is no client list. He didn't blackmail nobody, and nobody else is getting charged. So they sex trafficked kids to nobody. So now I don't believe that they're saying there was nothing, he did nothing wrong. They're saying there's no list. Robbie Starbuck, this new Department of Justice memo admits there are countless victims of Epstein on video, but no client list or evidence of other rapists that they can charge. Oh, it claims Epstein wasn't using videos as blackmail. So Epstein was trafficking this. Is Pam Bondi serious? No one who has followed this for years believes that everyone who went to Epstein's Island was just there to catch some waves and relax. Again, no one believes this for a very good reason. No one believes this for very good reason. What Epstein and his ilk did was pure evil, and this memo attempts to just close the book on it like there's no one else involved. I can't pretend that's okay. The victims deserve better, and the public deserves better. I mean, on one hand, I just wonder, did everybody just fall victim to hype? Right? There's some political expediency in this. I'm tending towards no, there's another reason. There's something so damaging, so widely damaging, that it would actually be worse to let it out than to hide it. Or that would be the reasoning behind it. I'm not saying I would agree with that, but I don't know. It does seem like there is something going on here, doesn't it? And it's a major black eye and embarrassment for the Trump administration, which again, you see the really important, profound ways that the Trump administration has been successful. And then you see this and you go, oh, why? Viva Frey, never let up on the Epstein files. The Epstein files are on my desk. There are no Epstein files. Epstein killed himself. There is no client list or blackmail material. Again, you wonder, were there people that just let themselves get carried away? I'm talking about people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino who didn't know, but it just was too tempting, perhaps. And now they're like going, oh no. Did it take on a life of its own? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. My feeling is that there's something going on, that perhaps there's something that's so far reaching that the reasoning would be that it's more damaging for it to get out than not. Best of a bad choice. The best of two bad choices, perhaps. Let's watch this.
Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going.
Again, logical play.
It's just so bizarre. I can't get my head around it, right? I just can't get my head around it. Natalie F. Daniel Danelishan, the DOJ and FBI, quote, there is no evidence Jeffrey Epstein had a client list, blackmailed powerful people, or was murdered. All of us? There we go. There's that look. There's that look. That's a classic meme. That'll never go away. That will never go away. Let's see. How's this? Orrin McIntyre. And then I told him there was no Epstein client list. And I think those are lizard people. Are those lizard people? That is the sort of thing lizard people would do, I have to say. Let's see. Eagle Wings from July 7th. The reason the FBI wouldn't let the Epstein client list come out in court is because if they did, their blackmail would no longer be useful and the CIA would lose their control over all the powerful people they spent decades setting up. That's from Julian Assange. So Jeffrey Epstein was just like a teacher. And then somehow, with no training or expertise, he became this financial wizard with enormous amounts of money, was constantly networking with, the wealthy, the powerful, the influential, was flying them around on the Lolita Express, had a name, the Lolita Express's plane, and a secret island. So that all seems kind of improbable to happen, does it not? And then you see things like this from Julian Assange, he is not a liar, Julian Assange, right? And now I don't know if that's actually attributable to him. Let's ask Grok, actually. The mention of Julian Assange aligns with his 2016 leaks via WikiLeaks exposing government misconduct, including CIA activities. Well, I don't know if he actually said that, because that's one thing that happens now is that people make stuff up a lot. Hold on one second. You see a lot of quotes that aren't actually attributable to the person they claim it is, unfortunately. All right. Let's see. From July 6th, Pam Bondi said that the Epstein client list was on her desk to review for release to the public just a few months ago. Now, the DOJ she leads claims that there's no Epstein client list. Sorry, but this is unacceptable. Was she lying then or is she lying now? These are the questions. All right. So I don't know. The idea that it's blackmail material. Again, let's go back to the history of Jeffrey Epstein. He was just kind of a nobody. He was like a teacher who then just somehow magically became really wealthy and with no expertise. And all of a sudden he's mingling with the wealthy, the influential. He's got a private jet called the Lolita Express. He's got a private island. We know there was sex trafficking involved. It sure feels like this would be. Well, I mean, it seems like this would be used for blackmail. He was put in place by an intelligence agency to essentially blackmail influential people, right? And that if that list and if the video is released, well, then it's useless at that point. Then it's basically a wasted investment at that point. So that's what sounds fairly plausible to me. I don't know what you guys think. Let's get to the chat and see. And actually, can I do something fun? Whoa. I believe this problem. But why wait? Blockbusterhealth.com is already offering Americans these savings right now. That's a right now, right at this moment. We're talking up to 80% off the same exact medication. Just have a different video in here. Oh, the jujitsu training one. I love this one. That's fun. Let's see. Rosie says that AI video of H is hilarious. Some people call her Killery. Some of the comments under it are funny too. Do you know what? Let's go back. Where is it? Okay, let's go to the comments. You missed that. Let's take a look. Let's see. The missing minute. So brilliant. Let's see. Grok, is this true? I asked Hillary to be my Valentine. She left me hanging. Ooh, that's a tough one. All right. Epic Troll. All right, let's move on. Let's go back to here. Let's see. Nevada says this isn't going away. No, people are going to remember it. Rosie says, great name, JJ Hildebeest. JDL says, it does look bad doing this. It sure does. It really is terrible. Nevada says, I have zero trust in Bondi, Patel, and Bongino now. Like Bongino talking about it, it looks like a hostage video. It's just a whole different kind of Dan Bongino when he has to talk about this stuff. It's weird. I mean, it's obviously out of their control. This goes higher than them. Rosie says, so it could be due to paranoia that there really was no list. If so, there are still flight records, videos, photos, phone records, witnesses, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, I don't think paranoia. I think that, it could be something that was actually, because this would be a sneaky thing to do. So you've got flight records, videos, photos, witnesses, all of that stuff, all this overwhelming evidence. Right. So, but you want to push it as a conspiracy theory, say in the early days. What do? You put out something that doesn't exist, right? So then that can be used to discredit it later. That could be a strategy, right? So maybe there was no list. Maybe there never was a written list. And that was floated out there to be used tactically later. That's a possibility. That is super speculation there. I have no freaking idea. I have no idea. the thing that seems the most plausible to me, although it's still speculation, but the thing that seems the most plausible to me is that simply if they release too much, then the blackmail is no longer useful. Rosie says Anne Hesh was killed for knowing of the evil. Well, she died weird, didn't she? Nevada says, this is total bullshit. The government is covering for pedos. Something's going on. JDL says, anyone believe this? Nevada says, fuck anyone covering for them. Let's see. One of Avicii's last song video exposes it. He died suddenly soon after. Really? Rosie says, not believing their spin. What JJ said. I want justice for the kids, damn it. Nevada says. Izzy says, playing double time to catch up after a phone call. Unforgivable, Nevada says. JDL says, Assange is free at least. Unforgivable, Nevada says. Let's see. So I don't know. I don't know what the most plausible thing to me is that they, and I'm not saying this approvingly, right? I'm not saying I like this, but I'm saying the most plausible thing to me would be that the blackmail is no longer useful if they release it. So I don't know. I mean, nobody's really going to know exactly what's behind all of this for a long time, I don't think. Let's see. Izzy says, CBC, dirty smear merchants. Nevada says, great, Ann Ritchie. Well, thank you very much. Izzy says, talented Archer. She is very talented. Rosie says, Blockbuster Health. Get your new meds and your vintage videos. Great ad read, 10 out of 10. That's almost the most you can get out of 10. All right. Mickey, how you doing, Mickey? I gave 8 out of 10 because 0 is not a number. O is not a number. Use 0, please. I really don't like being told what to do. I really don't. Denied. All right. Steve, best ad read ever. Thank you so much, Steve. All right. Rosie says, maybe if Epstein info is released now, we descend into anarchy. If there are 353 in Congress and 25% should be prosecuted, government is at risk until elections. Could be something like that. It could be something where they just think the damage of releasing it is worse than not. It could be. I mean, maybe the real truth will come out at some point, but I'm not holding my breath. I think you just have to take the wins that you're getting with the Trump administration right now. And I'm not sure you can even take for granted. Keep in mind, Biden administration had control of all this stuff for 4 years. I'm not sure you can take for granted that anybody in the Trump administration actually knows the truth. Trump or anybody working for him, right? Keep in mind, it might be after 4 years of the Biden administration, the whole thing might be so threaded through with lies and there might be so much destroyed information. And maybe there was a list, there was one copy and they burnt it or they took it with them or something. Who knows? But you can't forget that the cabal that was running Biden had control of this stuff for 4 years. So I get, you can't even take it for granted that, Kash Patel or Bongino or Trump or any of them actually know what really happened, what's really going on. All right. Now what are we doing? Let's see. So the FBI has launched formal investigations into former FBI head James Comey and former CIA head John Brennan due to potential Russiagate wrongdoings. It's about damned time. It says there's a new version of this post. Breaking, woohoo. I voted for this. Get 'em, Cash and Dan. Are people feeling less confident now? Are they feeling less confident now? So both Comey and John Brennan lied in front of Congress or the Senate. Maybe this should be maybe we should save this for a premium only stream. We'll do a deep dive. And because you could really spend an hour and a half on this for sure, or at least an hour just on this. Maybe this is something we'll come back to. Let me write it down. This might be a good one for a premium only stream. Because those I've just decided, those premium only streams, those are deep dive streams now. Let's see. Let me write this down. God damn it. If I only had a pen that worked. All right. Premium stream. FBI. Comey. Brennan. Investigation. Because they're both like liars, like proven liars, right? They haven't been punished for it. If you'd ever met Trump, and you said anything that they could find any way to call a lie or untruth in any way, if you just misspoke, they'd throw you in prison. But these guys were just fine. So that's, I think, a good one to come back to. All right. Duplicitous by design. So the elbows up. So the lowest common denominator, elbows up political tactic from the liberals. It did work in the election. Carney did get elected. But it's not as if this was some sort of spontaneous thing they just came up with. No, it turns out, I mean, it did seem very fake, very manufactured. It was very manufactured, as it turns out. Sheila Gunn Reid from Rebel News posted this thread. Duplicitous by design, how Mark Carney used government polling to fake a fight with Trump. Well, now obviously we do know that was elbows down the entire time, right? Carney was in communication with Trump. He was reassuring him that the things he was saying, the aggressive rhetoric, the anti-U.S. rhetoric he was using on the campaign trail was just politics. Don't worry. We're not going to hit you with a bunch of tariffs. Don't worry about that. Everything's going to be fine. He spent every time he's met Trump, 90% of his words have just been to praise Trump. His elbows have been way, way down. The liberals ran an elbows up election campaign claiming they'd stand up to the U.S. But the whole thing, it was scripted in advance, funded by you, and completely fake. Days after Trump won the U.S. election in November, the Prime Minister's office quietly ordered federal polling to test Canadians' fears of Trump. They wanted to see what scared you and how to weaponize that in an election. The cost to you, $1.6 million. So Canadians paid $1.6 million for the Prime Minister's office to cook up an idiotic lowest common denominator tactic, political tactic, scam on the Canadian people, designed for low information and gullible voters. Canadians paid $1.6 million to be manipulated by the PMO. Very nice. Documents from Blacklock's reporter. Privy Council Canada polled. And the Privy Council Canada. What is the Privy Council Canada? 1 second. I'm just going to pull something up quickly. What is the Privy Council. I know what it is. I just want to put up a definition for you guys. So we'll go over it quickly. Okay. The Queen's Privy Council for Canada is a formal body that advises the Canadian monarch, represented by the Governor-General, on matters of state. It is composed of prominent individuals, including current and former federal ministers, who are appointed for life. The Privy Council office is the department that provides nonpartisan support and advice to the Prime Minister, Cabinet, and the government on policy and legislative agendas. Now, they are not supposed to, it should go without saying, they are not supposed to be cooking up campaign strategies for any political party, certainly not for the Prime Minister. The Privy Council Canada polled main themes of Lib's Elbows Up campaign months before Trump imposed tariffs, found Canadians petrified of mass layoffs. I've been saying I was saying during the campaign, before the campaign, that the Liberal strategy, regardless of whether it was Trudeau or Mark Carney, and they'd been setting this up for years and years, their strategy was going to be to just accuse the Conservatives of being Maple MAGA North, whatever, just comparing him unfavorably to Donald Trump, because there had been so much time and money invested in Canadian media, particularly the CBC, to poison Canadians against anything conservative in the United States, particularly Donald Trump, the evil orange man. This was a strategy. This was done. This wasn't an accident. This was a long play. All right. So the media, particularly the CBC, demonizes anything Republican in the States, and then the Canadian Liberal Party then compares the Conservatives, or whoever the Conservative leader is. It was Pierre Poilievre, could have been anybody, it doesn't matter, compares them to Trump, to the Republicans, right? That's a strategy. It's a long game they were playing. That was always the play. And the tariffs or not, it didn't matter. And unfortunately, I'm going to say right now, and I said it before, it still would have worked, even if Trump had never mentioned tariffs, because the hysteria and the paranoia about Trump had been so built up in the Canadian psyche by the constant propaganda campaign from the media and from the Liberal Party themselves that I would have worked. Trump didn't need to say anything. Canada just wasn't ready to deal with reality yet, unfortunately. From November 12th to 21st, the Privy Council office ran confidential focus groups in 7 provinces. They tested tariff fears, mass layoffs, support for border crackdowns, defense spending, stand up to America messaging. Sound familiar? This is just straight up corruption. The final polling report was handed to Liberal staffers on January 20th, the same day the U.S. formally announced 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. Before that, January 17th, border announcement, January 24th, military funding boost, pure choreography. Trudeau then delivered his focus group to wartime monologue from the beaches of Normandy to the streets of Kandahar. It wasn't policy, it wasn't leadership, it was polling with a podium. Polling with a podium, and Canadians paid for it.
As President John F. Kennedy said many years ago, geography has made us neighbors, history has made us friends, economics has made us partners, and necessity has made us allies.
And syphilis has made you a lunatic. Let's see. Then came Carney's campaign launch on March 23rd. And thanks to Sheila Gunn Reid for this again, who's excellent. The message, elbows up. Trump is dangerous. Trump is dangerous. Remember, he was going to take over Canada. He was going to invade Canada. So terrifying. I mean, if you were an imbecile, you were terrified of that. If you were an imbecile, you were terrified by Carney's words. America wants to own us. I remember how Pierre Poilievre was going to kneel to Donald Trump. Remember that? Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of behavior from Carney, which looks a lot like kneeling to me. Only liberals can defend Canada. That was the biggest thing. I mean, that was the biggest idiocy of all. That's the biggest thing that makes you just go, alternate reality? What the hell's going on? This can't be real. Scripted rage, poll-tested fear. JJ McCullough posted this. Carney has really been one of the most aggressively, explicitly anti-American prime ministers we've had in ages. He relishes the idea not just of resisting Trump, but literally fighting the Americans. He speaks of the American people as our enemy. Look at this, Mr. Burns there.
We're fighting the Americans in the pocketbook. We have retaliatory tariffs on them. We just hit them again in the auto sector. We're fighting them on Fox News, which is what they understand. We're sending Doug Ford onto Fox News to show them that we're not messing around up here. And we're going to send Danielle next. Maybe we won't send her. Maybe we'll send Danielle. No, maybe we won't. We won't send Danielle.
Oh, I still can't believe. I know it's real, but I still can't believe that there were enough Canadians that would vote for this guy. Vote this to be their leader. It's still baffling to me. I will never overestimate the Canadian voter. I will never overestimate the Canadian voter ever again after this. Never again. Mark Carney, the alleged nationalist hero, he's a man who spent most of his life working for globalist institutions in New York and London, the very forces he pretended to protect Canadians from. He's barely spent any of his adult life in Canada. He just parachuted in. The media saw him as the guy who was going to continue their meal ticket and protect them from Pierre Poilievre defunding them, and that was enough for enough Canadians, for 43% of Canadian voters. Once Carney won, the elbows disappeared. His first trip to the White House, smiles, grins, mutual admiration with Trump, no pushback, no principles. Yeah, here we go.
And above all, for your leadership. You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids. And
Poilievre was going to kneel before Trump, apparently. Yeah, and by the way, Carney spoke for about a minute, and then Trump went on to ritually humiliate him for about 20 minutes. At the G7, Trump pressured Canada on defense and trade, and Carney nodded along, praised Trump's leadership, went full knee pads. So much for standing up for America. This is where you actually see him actually transform into Mr. Burns, but like a much weaker version of Mr. Burns with his hands behind his back. Let's take a look.
The G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership. And your personal leadership in the United States, many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. I'm very much looking forward to the meeting and grateful to have you. Very much.
Good thing we didn't elect Pierre Poilievre. He would have kneeled before Trump. He would have kneeled before him. Let's say then the digital services tax, we know about that. Apparently, I mean, the liberals were pushing it as a master stroke of negotiation, right? This idiotic thing that was despised by the Biden administration. It was hated on a bipartisan basis. It was hated on a bipartisan basis by both Democrats and Republicans in the United States. It was never a good idea. It was always stupid and ill-conceived. And I don't see where the brilliant, I don't see where the brilliant tradecraft here was, where Trump just says, yeah, you got to get rid of that or else we're not talking again. And then Carney immediately does. We gained nothing from it. We didn't get any concessions. It was just an idiotic thing that should have been abandoned the second he became prime minister. Yeah, I'm not seeing all of this. Well, he described himself as somebody who knows how the world works, and he knows how to get things done. I see no evidence of this so far. Still no trade deal, or not even close to one. Let's see. So let's be clear. The Liberals didn't build a campaign on values. They built it on polling you paid for, and only they had access to. This wasn't leadership. It was marketing. They built a fake fight with America to win your vote, then abandoned it the second that they won. The elbows up campaign wasn't tough. It was duplicitous by design. It was a lowest common denominator ploy for credulous, low information voters, the very people who see themselves as the sophisticated, discerning voters. These are the people that when Rosemary Barton's teleprompter told them to put their elbows up, they did. They got up in their living rooms and did a chicken dance in front of her and called themselves sophisticated. All right, so there's that. Oh, my God. It's kind of depressing, I got to say. I want to get to you guys. What are you guys saying? You guys are more fun than that. Let's see. I'm going to scroll back a little bit. Let's see. Hold on. Izzy says, elbows down, more like pants down. Yes, pants down's a good one. I also said asses up. So, elbows up, asses up, or elbows up, asses. I don't know. It was all stupid, though. Let's see. Izzy says, TDS is a part of the woke mind virus. Of course it is. Anything that resists the destruction of Western civilization is, of course. Izzy makes a great point here. He says, Trugina needs to be launched into the sun. Oh, those heady days. How many of those did we do? Those Grok versus Trudeau. We must have done 100 of them. Rosie says, the syphilis comment made my husband laugh. It was a good one. That was right off the top of my head. Rosie says, Mark's commie is obnoxious, insidious evil. Yes, indeed. Typical lizard person, as he says. As he says, Carney doesn't kneel, he drops his pants and bends over the barrel. Yes, he does. All right, let's move on. I'm getting tired, though. I don't know if I can do the entire show tonight. Let's see. Everything I've got listed. We've already gone 2 hours and 12 minutes. All right, let me have some. Do I have a little bit more rant juice left? I got a tiny bit more. Let's go. I think I've got to do it. That coffee wasn't enough. Let's do it right now.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
Now I'm back. Now I am back. All right. Let's see. Mark Carney. An important meeting with the special representative, Amira El Gawabi. She is Canada's special representative on combating Islamophobia, because of course we need that. Of course we need that. If there's anything that we've learned over the last 4 years, it's that we need to combat Islamophobia. That's the biggest problem. Canada's new government is fighting the rise in a made-up word, Islamophobia, that's used to trick people into being afraid of criticizing an ideology that is incompatible with Western values. So Canada's new government is fighting the rise in this made-up word, which is purely exists to manipulate you. And but in any case, let's start over. I have to keep rewriting this as I go. Canada's new government is fighting the rise Canada's new government is fighting the rise in the made-up word, which is used to manipulate you into being afraid to act in your best interest and hate. So we have to do it again. Canada's new government is fighting the rise in the made-up word to manipulate you into being afraid to act in your own best interest and hate, which is seeing the world objectively and accurately describing it with constructive conversations. Constructive conversations and new measures to end the violence, vandalism, and intimidation that threaten our communities. Violence, vandalism, and intimidation. Is there any of that happening in Canada? Let's see. What's this? Actually, hold on a second. Let's see. Toronto police are searching for suspects after 2 masked men fired 5 shots at a Jewish elementary school this morning. It's an elementary school is for Jewish girls between the ages of 4 and 14. Luckily, no one was injured. Yes, weirdly, the people who didn't have a Confederate flag with them. So strange. But anyway, let's go. Mark Carney says this. So, Mark Carney, what does he say?
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
What's he talking about? He must be talking about this. And by the way, Islam is an ideology. It's both a political and a religious ideology. And we're allowed to criticize ideologies. Okay? Especially when these are universalist ideologies that are literally a mix of politics and religion and do seek total domination. I mean, this is part of the ideology, right? That's what Sharia law is about. There's no separation of church and state in Islam. There's no give unto Caesar what is Caesar, give unto God what is God's. There's none of that. No, the perfect society is one that is Islamic. So it's a Sharia society. Okay, but let's hear about these Canadian values that Mark Carney is telling us about.
It doesn't fit their lifestyles. It doesn't fit their values. Let's give a few examples. If the law of Allah is implemented, women will have to be in hijab. They will have to dress the way Allah commanded them to dress, not the way any human being commanded them to dress. No, the way that Allah, who knows what is in the minds of men, who knows what is in the minds of women, who knows what is best for men and women, He is the one who legislated how she should dress in public and before those.
Well, I guess that's another win for the patriarchy, I guess, huh? Canadian Imam. Let's see. What about this here? Let's hear some more. Actually, hold on. Let's hear some more Canadian values here. So where is this? This is Imam in Canada. I believe this guy is actually in Victoria. Let's take a look. Yes, Victoria, BC.
Kids, some of them 10 years old. I'm sure you've heard some of those clips where a child says, I live to be a martyr. In other words, I live to die. Yes. I live to fight for the sake of Allah. I live to defend al-Islam and the Muslims. I live to defend al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Yeah, there are lots of examples of them. And you know something? It's not just the young boys, the young girls as well. Some of those little girls, they are braver than every single one of us put together. One little girl braver than all of us. Did you not hear that little girl say, I want to grow up and I want to get married and I want to give birth to and raise martyrs. Ay wallah. What kind of bravery is that?
Did you hear that? Child martyrs. I mean, that's just traditional Canadian values right there. Right there. We need to protect that, huh? We need to protect these traditional Canadian values like this here.
Are those machine gun earrings dangling her?
Yeah, machine gun earrings. My name is Esther Karam.
Okay.
Okay, I'm 22 years old. I'm a Palestinian. I have no fucking problem saying I support Hamas because they are the true fighters of Palestine and they're gonna bring back Palestine because you guys are fucking white supremacist idiots that need to wake the fuck up.
Sorry,
and
who are the white supremacist idiots?
You are.
Me, okay. Gee.
You're using terms like terrorist for, have you even seen what has been happening in the past 75
Ma'am,
years?
several governments recognize Hamas as terrorists.
The evidence of
So yeah, there's no way that she hates Canada, but I mean, these are, traditional Canadian values after all, right? Got to preserve that. Let's see. What else do we got here? Some more traditional Canadian values.
We are the Black Panthers. We are the Double Tigers. We are Al-Ansar. We are the Zapatistas. We are the FLN. And yes, we are Hezbollah and we are Hamas.
Hezbollah and Hamas, aren't those both considered to be terrorist organizations in Canada? Why, they are, huh? More of Carney's, Canadian values.
Our resistance has existed for centuries. We are.
How about, here's some more traditional Canadian values here. Burning the Canadian flag. So here's some more traditional Canadian values right here. Here they are, traditionally burning the Canadian flag. Let's take a look at this.
Israel, burn, burn. Israel, burn, burn. Palestinians will return. Israel is a terrorist state. Israel.
Well, I didn't know that Mark Carney's values were burn Israel, burn, and burning the Canadian flag. That's so interesting. I guess death to Canada, death to the United States, death to Israel. These are all Canadian values too. Isn't that nice?
Do not wonder how revolution could possibly be done. Men who have never known a free day, who have lived their entire lives under the thumb of one of the most powerful settler colonies in the world, built paragliders to fly over a wall so high that it blocked out the sun when you stood underneath it.
Is she going to mention then the slaughtering of all of those people at a music festival? Is she going to mention that specifically? Just the paragliders going over the walls? But, is she going to mention, is she going to describe in detail what they did after that?
Do not wonder how revolution can be done. We must do it. Death to Canada. Death to the United States. And death to Israel.
Death to Canada. Death to the United States. Death to Israel. Huh. Let's see. Hold on one second.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
How long do we have to do this? How long do we have to do this for? Canada's new government is fighting the rise in Islamophobia. Islamophobia and hate. Well, I see a lot of hate. I'm not saying all this Islamophobia. I mean, Islamophobia would be an irrational fear of Islam. If you're Jewish in Canada right now, are you irrationally afraid of those mobs? Would that be irrational? Is that the correct word, Islamophobia? I am so sick of this. How long do we have to keep up this charade? It is absurd. It is not Islamophobic to not want, blood feuds in Canadian streets. It is not Islamophobic to not want to import actual hate. People who celebrate slaughter, to have people blocking main streets in major Canadian cities so that they can pray in an obvious show of strength, of power, right? In an obvious insult to their host country. None of this is Islamophobic. I'm not saying that I'm not talking about individual people even here. I'm talking about an ideology. I'm talking about an ideology that if 20% of the people in it, all right, are fundamentalist and really buy into the most extreme elements of it, you've got a serious problem. Like all of this stuff, this didn't used to be Canada. Now we're being told these are our values? Really? This is Ottawa. Antifada. Only one solution. Palestinian demonstrators have taken over Wellington Street and are setting off smoke grenades. Where was all the tolerance for the truckers, I wonder? Nobody was saying that those were Canadian values, even though they actually were.
Hey, Casey here. The group of Palestinian protesters has taken Wellington Street, setting off smoke bombs. They've got sound systems and scaffolding in the street here.
Not Canadian values. Is this Canadian values blocking off a major street from traffic? Which is incredibly destructive. And where is this, in Toronto? In Toronto, you understand how disruptive this is to the city to block off a major street to do your prayers? This is a display of power, right? This is an insult to Canadians. This is, we are taking over and we can do what we want. These are not Canadian values.
From the river to the sea, from the sea to the river, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea.
Have any of these people, has this guy read the Hamas Charter? Because it's explicitly genocidal, right? If you read the Hamas Charter and then you hear river to the sea, you know exactly what it means. What about her? Is she? Are these Islamic, or are these Canadian values? Are these Canadian values, Mark Carney?
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
How much longer must we go on with this charade? A little longer, I guess. All right, let's keep going. What are we, 2.5 hours in? Good Lord, what's going on? And what's happening here? Do we have something? Do I have something? I got something special for you guys. Let's do this right now. Holy macaroni. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? What's your problem? Now's your shot. 1775 starter kit just dropped only 1,000 units. Only 1,000 units. Will you be one of the lucky people to get one of those 1,000 units? I don't know. It's up to you. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check. I got to come up with something better for that. The smooth medium roast and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. That's the best kind of focus. No crash, no commies. All single origin, small batch, toxin free. We don't need those. And mold free. Ooh, that's gross. Mold is gross. Plus, you're also getting, guess what? A gold spoon clip. Because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Everybody knows that. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. Ooh. And a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. What? This is getting crazy. You know what's even crazier? It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for under $100, only $99. How do they do this? This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, and blow up it has, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it sure is. Go to 1775, that's 1775coffee.com, 1775coffee.com / don't forget this / studio, and grab your starter kit before they're all gone. It would be sad if you went and they were all gone, if you didn't act fast enough. Bold beans, that's what it's all about. Clean fuel and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Are we talking about free speech? I think we're talking about free speech. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe, and it also, as an added benefit, makes commies cry. That's what I live for. I live for that. I live for that 1775 ad. Izzy says, Carney doesn't believe these are Canadian values. Oh, hold on a second. What am I doing? MMA. Carney doesn't believe these are Canadian values. He only wishes for support to retain power. Yes, exactly. To extract every penny he can out of Canada to hand to his Brookfield companies. Let's see. Rosie says, we are missing a chocolate. All right, fine. I'm trying to get through this show, damn it. But I'm a man of my word. We had tough negotiations over this, so I got to do it. I got to be professional. Chocolat. That's what the French say. They say chocolat. I think they're saying it wrong myself, because I wouldn't say it that way, but lemonade. So I put in chocolat, but then you get lemonade? What? Whoa, holy macaroni. Man alive, look at that. I could use some of that right now. That would give me some of that energy I need. Look at that. Wow. Is it Christmas yet? Yikes. It can't come soon enough. I could have both of those right now. I might feel sick afterwards, but I don't care. Look at it. It's delicious. I'm reckless that way. Okay. I'd be willing to throw it all away for those two. All right. Mickey says, just lip service from Carnage. Some people call him Mark's Carnage. I think Mickey calls him that, and I like it. I approve. Let's see. GDL says, what about the trans kids in Gaza? Yeah, they don't get out much. As he says, coffee ad, my favorite source of energy with some commie hate on the side. 1776 out of 10. It's the most out of 10. It's the most out of 10 you can get. Radio Streamer says 9.1 out of 10. Acceptable levels of commie hate. Needs better than CNN fact check. I know. What is that? I don't get that. I keep thinking every time I read it, I think, oh, I got to rewrite that. And then I just forget afterwards. I got to come up with something else. All right. But it's not my fault. It isn't my fault. It's true. All right. Radio Streamer says revised rating 9.6 out of 10 for the commie crying. Very nice. Rosie says coffee ad 1777 out of 10. Now that's the most she can get out of 10. So professional. Definitely not read like it was done from a starter kit. Commie hate needs more growls. I gotta mix it up sometimes, but thank you. JDL says good ad read. Thank you very much. Izzy says love commie tears. They're the best. And Rosie says you've been redeemed. Hot chocolate heaven. They do look really good, don't they? All right. What the hell are we doing next? Well, Canada, what else we got going on? What's this? Oh, God. I can't do this. It's too depressing. I can't do that one. It's too depressing right now. No, I'm not doing it. All right. Let's just move on. Poilievre, here's something on the lighter side. He's just making fun of Mark Carney here. So I've been light on the Pierre Poilievre stuff. He's not, the by-election is coming up. He's not back in Parliament yet. I think I'm just going to let it cool off for a little bit with Poilievre until he's back in Parliament again, and then we'll start covering a bit more. But let's hear this. This is at the Calgary Stampede.
And so let me start in a spirit of nonpartisanship as...
Oh, and I should preface this with them. I don't have anything set up, but Mark Carney was also there. He tried to flip some pancakes. It went about as well as you would expect for a technocrat, elitist, globalist central banker who has never flipped a pancake for himself or probably even eaten a pancake before. It went about as well as you would expect that to go. So that's my preamble. Here we go. Well, let's leave it up to Pierre here.
And so let me start in a spirit of nonpartisanship as a Calgarian to welcome Prime Minister Mark Carney to his very first stampede in this role. And he had, of course, to do the customary thing and flip some pancakes. Now, he thought he would be great at it because in his trade talks with Trump, he's had so much experience flip-flopping. But still, it didn't go as planned. One of the pancakes got broken in half and the other one splattered everywhere. And he owned up to it. But a careful review of a slow motion replay demonstrated exactly what the problem was. He couldn't figure out whether to put his elbows up or down. And so let me start.
We would be in so much of a better place already had this guy become prime minister. It still bothers me. Maybe that's why I'm just not covering that much Pierre right now as well, just because I'm still just very sour about that last election, extremely sour about it. All right. This is a great time to tell everybody that if you're not subscribed to the channel, you should totally subscribe right now. Everybody's doing it. Hollywood stars are doing it en masse, actually. It's like every Hollywood star is subscribing to my channel right now. Don't check in on that or anything. I just take my word for it, but definitely that's what's happening. But you know what? That's a lie. It's not true. And it's a bad lie because that would make sane, reasonable people, good people, salt of the earth people like yourself say, ooh, I don't want to follow that then. I don't want to follow this guy. And you'd be right to. So no, that was a lie. I don't know why I said it. I don't know why I say these things. I've damaged my brain a lot in my life, so sometimes I just say things. I have no impulse control either. That's a major problem. But my main point is that if you don't subscribe to the channel, something terrible will happen to you. I don't know that for certain, but that could happen. I mean, there's not anything that could happen that would actually make that happen, but it could. I mean, it could place the thought in the back of your mind that you better just subscribe because it's just safer that way. Also, liking the streams, same goes for that as well. Just go ahead and do that right now. Just don't take the chance. Honestly, don't take the chance. Why take a chance? Why risk your future on that? All you have to do is like the stream, right? Done. Boom. You feel safe. So go ahead and do that. And yeah. And then yeah, let's just go ahead. Let's just keep going. I got nothing else. I got nothing. What about memes, though? I do have some memes here. Let's take a look at these. I better refresh it in case I added anything. I added a bunch. There's a bunch of the stuff you guys said, and I finally managed to get my direct messages on X. So there's a ton of stuff for you guys that got backed up a little bit. You'd better knock this shirt off. What's this? Back off, or I'll kill yourself. I will kill yourself, says Hillary. Sorry, Hillary, not Hillary. Why do I say that? By the way, as I always say, just to be safe, I do not have any information that would lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. I have none whatsoever. Nothing to worry about there. Mom Donnie, politics in one picture from Shibatoshi Nakamoto. Shibatoshi Nakamoto. He's quite good, actually. Once I'm elected, I will become vegetarian. There he is. That's Mom Donnie right there. Although Mom Donnie's not even hiding it. I mean, we have the videos of him talking about literally saying the end goal for him is to seize the means of production. It don't get any more commie than that. That's as commie as it gets. If somebody says they want to seize the means of production, they are a commie. I mean, that's just straight up commie. What more do you need to say? I mean, I guess he could mention something about the kulaks and how much he doesn't like them, but you don't even need to go that far. Elon Musk posted this. They arrested and killed Peanut, but have not even tried to file charges against anyone on the Epstein client list. Government is deeply broken. More squirrels and raccoons have been arrested than anyone on Epstein's client list. Yes, it is crazy. I can't help but noticing that on this video where we spent a lot of time talking about Epstein, YouTube, when I look at the YouTube studio here, 18 views on YouTube. That's total. That's not like at one time. Like that's for the entire 2 hours and 40 minutes. I wonder if that's just organic. Just nobody's interested in the I wonder. Amazing. It's actually so predictable, but thank God we've got Rumble. Thank God we've got Rumble. Thank God we've got X. Thank God we've got locals. But thank God we've got Rumble. The people who keep voting for leftists are the dumbest people on the planet. I agree with that. What Democrats promise their cities will look like, well, that seems nice. What they actually look like, well, that doesn't seem nice. It's almost as if there is no utopia. Crazy. Yeah, this is just leftism, right? This is just leftism. This is what the commies tell the people their cities will look like, and this is what their cities will actually look like. What's going on here? Hold on, baby. I'm watching deportation videos. They are pretty good. Hold on, baby. This is hot. All right. So there's the memes. Now we're at the last tab of the evening. So there's some chocolate cake there for Rosie. She loves that. And there's a bunch of stuff you guys sent me, and it's a bunch of just palate cleanser stuff. It's all palate cleanser stuff. And we're loving it. Boys will be boys. Let's take a look.
3, 2, 1.
You know, if it were me, I'd be asking myself, I wonder if there's any chance that when they blowtorch all of these, that they might all just explode at the same time and kill me. And then I would say, let somebody else do it. I'm feeling like somebody else probably did that. Let's see. No context memes. So meditation, very, 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 very good for you, they say. A deep state of meditation, which may lead to extraordinary states of consciousness. Extraordinary states of consciousness. Like what, I wonder? Let's see. I fell asleep and flying around my house. It was awesome. While I was flying, I wanted to poop. So I flew to my bathroom and poop. When I woke up, there was poop in my pants. Meditation. I guess don't do too much of it because, well, you know what will happen. Let's see. There's a Russian content creator who performs the craziest stunts and is somehow still alive. It's hard to believe this guy is still alive. I mean, let's take a look here. Jeez. Oh. His shoe came off there. His shoe came off. I mean, this doesn't look like camera tricks. I mean, wow. I mean, that guy's insane. How is that guy still alive? It's Russians. They're built different. All right. What else we got? The fourth dog is not even running. I think we've seen this before, but it's really kind of cool, though. So that's the third dog. Fourth dog is coming up. No, that was the third dog. So the fourth one's coming after this guy. Okay, that's impressive. That's an impressive dog right there. Basically just flying. So I guess this was somebody, this guy here is, I guess the guy who owns this has had problems with thieves. So let's see what happens. So that guy is a thief.
Ah, fuck.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, me fucking knee. Oh, fuck. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm guessing what's happened here is that there's been a problem with thieves. He's dug a trap. The owner of this has dug a trap. This guy's come around snooping around there, and now he's in the trap.
Oh, me fucking knee. Ah.
And it does sound like he's hurt his knee.
Ah. 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 Help! Help! Oh, fuck.
Well, you shouldn't try and steal that jet ski, should you? We watched this last time. Not last night, but I think on Sunday night. It's just so good. Let's watch it again. Let's just watch it again. She tried to put him in his place, but his response was legendary. This is just very good. Let's take a peek.
Dan, there's an old saying. Behind every successful man, there's a woman, a loving, giving, caring woman. But you wouldn't know about that, Dan, because there's no old saying about what's behind a miserable failure.
Jane, you ignorant slut. Bagged up, dried up slunk meat like you and Michelle Triola know the rules. If you want a contract, sign on the dotted line. Oh, but let's all shed a tear for poor Michelle Triola. There was only testimony that she had sexual intercourse over 40 times with another man while living with actor Lee Marvin. But I suppose that sort of fashionable promiscuity means nothing to someone like you, Jane, who hops from bed to bed with the frequency of a cheap ham radio. But hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and Michelle Triola, like a screeching, squealing, rapacious swamp sow, is after actor Lee Marvin's last $3 million. I guess what you and Michelle are saying is that when you're on your backs, the meter is running. Well, please spare us, gals, and tell us the rates at the top. Then we can choose which two-bit tarts and bargain basement sluts to shack up with.
Two-bit tarts and bargain basement sluts to shack up with. That's good. Actually, that was from last night. I'm realizing that's why
Dan,
it wasn't on YouTube because it was a premium Rumble premium only stream. So that's why I didn't get a copyright notice from YouTube yesterday, which I will now get tomorrow morning. Let's see. Little did this banker know he was about to become a worldwide hero. This is a nice one. These are all just nice palate cleansers after all that terrible news.
A 43-year-old banker by the name of Joel Armstrong is doing the handiwork catching a dozen day-old ducklings from their nest outside his second-story office. Their mother flew down earlier to head for water, stranding the newborns, which were supposed to follow, but were afraid to make the leap until the banker showed up. The mother duck stood by, waiting, corralling her ducks one by one as her human friend delivered them safely. Onlookers gathered for a downtown parade that was just hours away were awestruck.
She's got a crowd, and I think she's a little nervous, so we're here to help her.
Once he got the last three down by ladder, the drama wasn't over.
I got them both!
Together, the banker and the mother duck led the babies to water, straight down the middle of a city parade route, through the streets, around crowd barriers, and finally, home, the river.
Oh, we did it. That was an ordeal. I can't believe we did it.
See, no commie would do that. That's a banker doing that. No commie would do that. Commie would have sent them straight to work on a railroad or to the concrete factory. Let's see. Or just to a gulag. Let's see. Meanwhile, in America, FBI, that Epstein list is not real. That's the FBI today, isn't it? That Epstein list is not real. That's a classic. Let's see. When you keep a goat at home.
Hurts. Oh, really? You're headbutting the couch? Just coach. Hey, that's my paperwork. Stop. Now I'm gonna have to reprint that. Stop. Oh my gosh. Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
Oh, no. It's going to headbutt him.
Hi, little floppy ear. Bocephus.
Breakfast time.
That's my favorite part. So adorable and yet so delicious. After being caught eating sugarcane, a baby elephant tried to hide behind a light pole. If that doesn't make your heart melt, nothing would. Nothing would. Kami would have sent him straight off to the concrete factory. Not in my world. We're not going to let that happen, people. I can't breathe. Why can't you breathe? I put Play-Doh up my nose. All right, let's take a quick look at this. Let's go up a little to the middle. That's pretty funny. What is it with kids putting things up their noses? You'd think there'd be like some mechanism in their brain that would say this is probably not a good idea to stick things up your nose. I don't know. From Geiger Capital, Javier Milei has lowered Argentina's monthly inflation rate from 26% to just 1.5%. Does he have a brother who's got like a Canadian passport? Can take over Canada? The economy grew 7.6% in Q2 year over year, which is more than China's economy grew. Never forget, the media and professional class labeled him a dangerous far-right lunatic because he wanted to cut spending. Economists warn electing far-right. He's like a libertarian, for God's sakes. Far-right Milei would spell devastation for Argentina. The reason they elected him was because they already had plenty of devastation under the socialists. More than 100 economists, including Thomas Piketty and Jayati Ghosh, published open letter ahead of country's 19th November election. It was such a selling point for Carney that he's an economist. Carney's an economist, right? There's certain economists they like, certain ones they don't. If they don't like them, they're far right. Far right. Once again, why women outlive men. Let's check this out. Hold on. I can't help but feel like this looks staged. That would be terrifying, though. That would be terrifying. All right, let's keep going. Chocolate cake. We've already seen that one. Get yourself a tank. All right, let's check this out. Does this really work?
What are you doing later? Want to go to dinner?
Sorry, I don't do dinner.
You don't do dinner.
No, I don't.
Why?
Because I have a boyfriend.
That's too bad. I don't usually ask twice, but
Is that your tank?
yeah, it's my tank.
Well, there's a bar down the road.
There's a what?
A bar down the road if you want to get a drink.
Oh, so now you're interested.
I like tanks.
Well, no tanks. That's your car.
Yeah, that's my car.
Ah!
Peace, bitch. What is this? What the hell is this? I don't know. But I love it. I love it, though. And now I want a tank. What's going on here? These will never not be funny. So what is it? Okay. Let's take a look.
The fuck was that? Oh, what's up, buddy?
I'm not just doing.
You just wasted my time. You're on time. I heard you all time.
Oh my God. I'm gonna check on the herd. Reinstead. I didn't like that last one. You think you wanted me? That was the wrong time. All right, be safe.
I don't know. Look, I mean, I laughed. I felt like there's some part of me that felt like it was wrong to laugh while I was laughing, but I continued to laugh. And I guess that's what living in a free country is all about. All right. This is one I want to do a fact check on at some point, but we keep getting to it too late. This is a location in Quebec. Are you boycotting Tim Hortons? So there's a Boston cream with a big fly. Ugh. Can confirm this is Tim Hortons now. I haven't been to a Tim Hortons in ages. Last time I was in there was a bunch of fruit flies flying around everywhere. I'm like, I don't know. It's a lot of people call it Sing Hortons because they don't hire any Canadians anymore. And that's disgusting. That is so. Tim Hortons has been ruined. It's ruined. It's just gross now. This is funny. Okay, this is good. She's hardcore. Let's take a look.
We want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now.
The expression on her face when she says it. It's like she's enjoying sticking the knife in there.
Remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now.
Oh boy. Oh boy. That was let's see. Radio Streamer says, you do realize that I guarantee you all those smaller people made those videos with their friends. I'm sure that, yes, I'm sure that they did. I'm sure that they did. All right. Community notes and violations. What's this? Love is the answer. So, okay. Talking about hardcore. And I totally approve of this, by the way. Let's take a look.
I shot this guy 68 times. And when the media asked you, why shoot him 68 times? Your answer was, we ran out of bullets. We would have shot him more. Where does that come from?
It comes from the heart, and it comes from the soul. This guy shot and killed our canine, shot and killed our canine handler, shot the backup deputy. Well, he pointed the dead deputy's gun at a SWAT team. What do you think's going to happen? You're going to get shot a lot. You're going to get shot so much you can read the Sunday New York Times through you. And that's what happened. 68 times in a matter of a second and a half.
I mean, the thing is, the purpose of it is to neutralize the threat, right? They're not going to shoot unless they feel like their life is in danger. And once you're at that point, it doesn't matter how many bullets. Like, the point is to keep going until the threat is neutralized. So it's, whenever you see that argument of what did they have to shoot, that's just a stupid argument. Let's see. Stu, that's all that you get. Posted this. Let's see. Electro Boom Mistakes compilation. This is just weird.
The power line, both of them are exactly at 120 volt AC. Like behind a red light or in a charging lane. I removed this drain to measure the water usage. Why do they use this stupid bend here that only collects dirty water and booger? Something like this inductor and capacitor. This is a filter. If I try to measure the AC output using my... The power line straight capacitors don't blow up like that. Oh, the reason my light is turning on is because I'm hiding my Tesla coil under the table. Ow! What they say about AC, it hurts. Yeah.
So is this just a comedy thing, or is he actually that incompetent? I don't know. But I love this guy too. That says, love this guy. I also love him as well. He was fantastic. Let's see. America should take note. We are on the path to ruin. Students for Liberty posted this. Be Argentina. Try all kinds of socialism. Become the first nation to stop being rich and go back to the third world. Elect the crazy libertarian promising chainsaw public spending. Immediately start growing faster than China. There you go. Argentina outgrows China. 5.8% annual growth beats China's 5.4%. That's what happens when you stop being dirty, filthy commies. You turn into him, who's cool and awesome. Let's see. What's this? How the internet is seeing American politics lately. Let's take a peek.
Hey, you.
Yeah, that one's getting copyrighted for sure, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Let's see. What do we got next? Kamala Harris made podcast appearance during her campaign, but it was so bad her team and the podcast mutually agreed not to release it. It's from Oli London. So, I mean, this guy's not a right winger. Obviously, she wouldn't want to go on his podcast if he were. So obviously this was very, very friendly territory. So that says something right there. When you listen to this, okay, obviously for her to even consider going on his show, it has to be extremely friendly territory. Let's listen.
Emailed me.
They emailed, like an email from the
DNC.
Okay.
And they said, hey, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are really interested in being on your show. I said, that sounds cool.
Okay.
I'll at least get to tell my daughter that I met the potential president of the United States.
Yeah.
And so I said yes, based on the fact that it would be a good story. And also they both had good takes.
What happened with Kamala?
Her take was really confusing and weird and not good. And so mutually agreed that we shouldn't publish it.
I see.
And I got lucky because I didn't want to be blamed for her losing.
Her take was that bad?
It was really, really bad, and it was like didn't make any sense. I can tell you,
Yeah,
it was bacon as a spice. Bacon as a spice.
Bacon as a spice.
Email.
Well, first off, bacon as a spice is the only sensible thing she's ever said that I've ever heard her say. So he's wrong about that. Bacon as a spice, okay, I can go with that. Right? That's the only intelligent thing I think she's ever said.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
No, but it must have been incredibly bad for them just to scrap for him to say, and again, she's going there because he's rolling out the red carpet. He's loving her, right? For him to say it was weird, didn't make any sense. And bacon, maybe he's like a Muslim or something, and the whole bacon thing really, really rubbed him the wrong way. I don't know. But it must have been truly horrific. She probably was hammered, right? Half the time, I mean, half the clips of her, she seems like she's under the influence of something. My personal thought was that maybe she was taking like anxiety meds for the pressure and then also having a couple of cocktails or 4 or 5 or 6. But she was weird. Yeah, it was so weird on his show that they couldn't air it, right? But she was always kind of weird.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
No, I did not. All right. I wonder what people say underneath this. Must be comedy gold. Release that tape. Oh, God. Wouldn't that be sweet if they released that? God, that would be nice. Probably there's some sort of NDA or something. He'd get sued to high heaven. He's probably had to destroy it. This is so humiliating considering she was the possible president of the United States of America. It really is incredible. It's so revealing. It's shocking, actually, that she couldn't even get through a podcast in friendly territory with somebody who wanted to make her look good. And this shows you something it's so striking, the difference, it's so striking, the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, the Republican establishment did not want him. The deep state did not want him. The bureaucracies didn't want him. The media didn't want him, right? He won through force of will. The only people that wanted him were the people. He won through sheer force of will and just being this singular force. Kamala Harris was a DEI pick. Biden admitted that, right? She was picked because she checked off boxes. And apparently the cabal that was running Biden didn't bother thinking much further than that. They never seem to really do that, do they? It's just female, not white. That's enough. Left wing, radical progressive, communist parents, great. We'll take her. That's the kind of diversity that we need. And it didn't work out well, did it? Because she was picked, she was given every advantage, right? Every institutional force was for her, pushing her on the American people. And look, Trump didn't win by 40 points. He beat her by a few points. Was it probably down to a couple of points after all the after the bags of votes in California were counted. But she did come, actually, even though Trump got the presidency, he got the executive, he got the Senate, he got the House, got the Electoral College vote. She still came terrifyingly close to becoming president, right? And she's the exact opposite of Trump, right? Trump, nobody controls Trump. He is a singular force. He won by sheer force of his own will, especially the second time. And he even got shot, for God's sakes, and showed incredible physical courage at that moment, which may have won the election for him. It probably had something to do with it, for sure. But here she is, who was a DEI hire. She's equity, right? Just somebody foisted on the American public, just given every advantage. Every institution was for her. Everything was for her. And it wasn't enough because she was fake, because she couldn't even get through a podcast with this guy. Are there other ones that we haven't heard about? Probably are. she couldn't really run. She couldn't do a press conference, right? Trump did everything. He did everything that she couldn't, and he excelled at it. It's amazing. I mean, there's an incredible story there, isn't there? You have these two protagonists. They are the exact opposite of each other. The exact opposite. It's amazing. What a story, right? It makes you think like we're in the simulation or something. It can't even be real. All right. Let's keep going. China, from Defiant Elves, China rolls out its crime-fighting ball. Its crime-fighting ball to chase down criminals. So it looks goofy, but also terrifying. So I don't know. I mean, is that what's going to terminate us? I mean, if I'm going to get terminated, I want it to be by a sexy maid that I've been living, a sexy maid robot that I've been living happily with for about 10 years before at Judgment Day, and then she terminates me. If I'm going to go, if I have to go out, if I have to be terminated, that's how I want to go. I don't want it to be with the Chinese police ball. No thanks. Carney's probably already got a contract to import 1 million of these things. All right. How about this? Danny Polishchuk. He's quite funny. This American patriot stands with Iran. All right, let's listen to this. I think a lot of people misunderstand the satire in this.
Hi, I'm Brett Cecil, and I'm an American patriot, and I stand with Iran. That's right. People like to throw around the phrase America first a lot, but I actually walk the walk. I'm against the United States funding any wars abroad, which is why, as an American patriot, I now find myself supporting Iran for the first time ever. Pretty weird, I know. I was critical about the war in Ukraine and America's funding of that. And then again, when the Zion Nazis in Israel invaded Gaza after October 7th using American weapons. And now Israel thinks it's okay to target Iranian military leaders in Syria just because Iran happened to help Hamas with their attack? Who does Israel think they are? America? And yes, America has done way worse things than Israel in the past, but they aren't right now. At least depending on who you ask. That's why I support Iran, and you should too if you really love America and, more importantly, hate Israel. And sure, you'll have to look past all the death to America chants you hear from Iranian politicians and supporters. You might even hear some coming from people on American soil. No worries though, these people are our allies and friends. And those are merely figurative death to America chants anyways. If they weren't, it would be pretty silly of me to be supporting Iran just because I hate Israel so much. But boy, do I really hate Israel and therefore love Iran and America. I love America. I'd say I love America first. I guess Iran second now, and Israel dead last. Puh. I mean, just look at who supports Iran. North Korea, China, Russia, and patriots like me. And sure, Iran is a dictatorship that lynches political dissidents and murders women that don't cover up. But did I mention I hate Israel? A lot. Like a lot. So make sure to be an American patriot like me and show your support for the Iranian government. God willing, they will defeat those Zionists. Not their God, of course, our God.
So there's enough there to offend everybody. And as long as everybody's offended, I'm happy. All right. Joe Rogan and Bernie. I can't deal with Bernie Sanders right now, even if he's. What is this horse thinking? Oh, no. Oh, no. They can't do this to me. Oh, no. Nah, I'm going to run. I'm going to run into the ocean. That's what that horse is thinking. Not today. All right. What are we? 3 hours and 15 minutes on a Tuesday night? Whoa. That is crazy. All right. Let's take a look at a little bit of the chat. I'll just get through a bit. I'm exhausted, guys. We'll take a little bit of a look here. Let's see. Let's see. What's going on here? Rosie says, my husband wants me to inform you that he is a midget. Oh, no. Oh, no. What have I done? What have I done? Does she say anything else here? What have I done? Rosie says, just kidding. He is 2 inches taller than I am. Damn you, Rosie. Damn you. Don't ever do that to me again. Izzy says, ooh, that turns me off Boston creams. Oh, yeah. From the Tim Hortons anyway. I'm telling you, the last time I was in one, which hasn't been for years, actually, already, it had turned into a Sri Lankan village. And, yeah, there were flies all over the place. And let's see. And no, I did not just do a racism. That was just an accurate description of reality. And if you don't like it, well, I'm sorry. Let's see. All right, what else we got going on here? Let's see. Radio Streamer says he is known as Electro Boom, and he's been doing that for years. It's a shtick. That's what I was wondering. He can't be that incompetent, right? I thought it was a thing. All right. As he says, no, he's doing it for the Must I read this? Must I read this? I'm going to do it because I respect you, Izzy. No, he's doing it for the shock value. For the shock value. The shock value.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
The shock value. I did it. We went there. We went there, Iggy. Thank you. Let's see. Xerxes, haha, like the Electro Boom guy. Let's see. Rosie says he is highly competent. Training videos. I believe these are outtakes. I don't know what to believe now. Izzy says, very good at explaining electronics. Well, now I'm completely confused. Let's see. Spambot says, bacon is a food group that belongs at the base of the food pyramid. I couldn't agree more. Let's see. Let's see. Rosie says, one thought from earlier. I think this is regarding to Epstein and his amazing rise from a teacher to international blackmailer with private jets and islands. One thought from earlier. I taught school. No one gave me a jet or a private island. And I did subscribe and like. Even subscribing and liking on Radio Baloney doesn't get you that kind of, well, I mean, are we even calling it karma? He had to do some pretty terrible things, and he was a bad guy. So, anyway, let's see. Let's see. JJ Nevada said, Kamalatard. Kamalatard. Nice. Izzy says, that's insulting to tards. It certainly is. Nevada said, no one ever voted for her to run. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I mean, this is part of what I'm saying. I mean, Trump beat the world. I mean, the world was against Trump. Every institution, every world, everybody was against him. You know, especially the second time. He won by just this incredible, I don't think we'll ever witness it again, this incredible force of will. And Kamala, just everything was handed to her. Everything was handed to her. She was just purely a product of the machine. She was a mask of the machine. And even though, I mean, it was a blowout in the sense that, you know, Senate, House, Electoral College, he didn't win by 40. He won by like 2, which is terrifying. Rosie says, true, she was never a real candidate. Yeah, she was like, I don't know, some sort of Manchurian candidate or something. Let's see. Rosie says it resembles an atomic bomb. Are you talking about the Chinese police ball? That's number 7 on the menu with sweet and sour sauce. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Radio Streamer says, quickly Google the movie Rubber. You will die laughing if you Google Rubber. It is perfect for this. It is literally exactly this, but as a spoof. I did see something, actually. Hold on. Let me see if I can find something on X. Usually something will come up. Hold on. Let's hear. Here's something. Rubber is a real movie too about a tire becoming a serial killer. Oh, that is scary. Yikes. Yeah, I remember this. I remember this movie came out. I think it was actually supposed to be pretty good too, actually. All right, yeah, terrifying. There it is there. All right, but I'm too tired to continue with this. So let's get back to this. We'll dispense with the rest of the chat. We'll deal with the rest of the chat. Then I gotta go. What time is it? 9:21. Yeah, I gotta go within 9 minutes anyway. All right. Yeah, I gotta bring this thing to an end real quick because I gotta do something right at 9:30. Let's see. 2010 film Spambot says. Xerxes says real fighting ladies would be pulling hair and biting. They would be, and that would be awesome. All right, that's it. I gotta go, you guys. I lost track of time. Normally we don't do 3-hour 20-minute streams on Tuesday, so normally we don't, but we're doing that tonight. Thank you to the chat. You guys are awesome as usual. You're half the show. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great week, and I look forward to seeing everybody on Friday. What is it, Tuesday? Yeah, on Friday, because if you're not there, it'll be kind of depressing, frankly. So please show up. And everybody have a great week. Thanks a lot. I will talk to you soon. I gots to go.